of the human experience. Today I will be your host, Anref, and today on our weekly episode of Only Human, we're going to be diving deep into what it means to be a functional human. What does it mean to master certain elements of mindset and productivity? How do you overcome certain initial obstacles relating to individual capacity and consciousness? My goal is, and I'm going to configure this, okay, enable. My goal here today is to develop a common understanding of what is required to achieve your objectives. I have, for a very long time, aspired to many things and struggled at every single step of the way there. This is no exception. And today, there's a video that I found that I listened to once very quickly while in the car. I want to listen to it much more deeply and take notes as we go. So what I'll be doing today is we're going to be listening to this video, and as I go, I'll be taking a few notes. Oh, what the hell? I will be taking some notes so that we can have it be a little productive at the same time. I'm very curious to see what knowledge we can glean from this, and so there's only one way to really know, and that is to do. However, I just want to make sure that I'm actually online on all three platforms. It seems that I am. Therefore, I say we go. Oh, just one thing. Something is causing an audio interference. Let's see if I can disable this. It is slightly frustrating. Stream setup data, no analytics. Can I mute this? I wish there was a better audio control. There really isn't, because unfortunately, when you're working with the limitations of Windows, you're kind of stuck. Okay. Maybe if I sound output, volume settings, volume mixer maybe. No, I can't. That's unfortunate. Okay, we are simply gonna have to go with it, and whatever happens, happens. So, let's pop this back into place. Let's go. This is, so for those who don't know, there is a fantastic channel, a YouTube channel / podcast called The Diary of a CEO. It is hosted by Stephen Bartlett, a serial entrepreneur in England, in the UK. He is fascinating, not only in terms of his business acumen, but also in what he's trying to achieve, the integrity with which he presents himself, and the transparency of how he documents his journey. There are many aspects of how he lives his life that I either aspire to or am interested in, and studying how he goes about his life, his business, and his mindset is an endless source of fascination for me. So today, we will be studying a sub-video of his. He has his main channel called The Diary of a CEO. However, he also has a side platform, a side channel called Behind the Diary. Today, we will be watching a Behind the Diary video and taking notes as we go. Here goes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this week's episode on Behind the Diary is in this episode, I'm going to do two things. The first is I'm going to tell you how to make a lot of money, and the second thing is I'm going to tell you how to get noticed. Really simple framework that I think will improve your chance of getting a response by about 1,000%. And I'll explain that to you in this episode. I have looked at 60,000 CVs. I actually have 45,000 CVs still sat in my CV inbox. The crazy thing that happens when you look at 60,000 CVs is you start to notice the little subtleties that make someone stand out, but also the things that people write that make them totally invisible. And I've written down 4 things that make someone stand out when they apply for a job or apply for an investment or just send me an email about anything. And I'm going to talk you through those 4 things to make sure that the next time you send an email, you stand out from the crowd, because I know what it's like to feel invisible digitally. And I saw this clip going viral on social media this week that said a girl applied for like 600 jobs before she got a role. That is a crime. That is a tragedy. She has an economics degree degree and she still can't get a job.
Caitlin, I'm a university graduate and I applied to 647 roles before I got one.
And lastly, your boy was in Forbes this week, and in Forbes they released the highest earning creators in the world. And so I thought this was a good time to tell you the two most important things if any of you want to start growing your social media following. We're going to do a big sit down session in this episode, and I'm going to talk you through exactly what to do in the next 5 to 10 years if you want to join us on the Forbes top earning creators list. Let's get into the episode, ladies and gentlemen, and sorry for me.
So before we get too much into it, I do want to address something. I am viewing this video with the intention of studying its contents to better understand how to apply to my life. However, it's important to remember that the way he lives his life is very uncommon for most people. And so while he is demonstrating the basics of how to communicate correctly, how to incentivize people to listen to your message, how to make people more receptive to what you have to say, ultimately, this is knowledge that you can apply to any sphere of your life, no matter where you are, no matter what your situation, whether you want to start a business or you just want to work for someone with low stakes, allowing you to live a decent life. No matter what your situation is, no matter what your interests are, ultimately the result is the same. There's always knowledge you can find from any source of data. Well, while I am listening to this with the intent of better understanding how to apply this to future businesses or even just my own personal growth, my communication style, try to find ways that you can optimize for the application of raw data. He mentioned he'll be sharing several formulas that he developed to better communicate or to better understand a subject, how to apply and stand out in any situation. I am curious to see how much of this we can adapt not only to the job interview process, as this video is about, but literally to any and all spheres of life. So let's take a look.
Last week we wanted to make sure it was good. We worked for 2 weeks to make this one. I hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm hiring one of the most important roles I think we've hired in the company's history. We're hiring a head of happiness and health. The reason I'm doing this is because when a company hits the size we're at now, where we have about 100 people in Flight Story, things start to change a little bit if you're not incredibly intentional about it. So I did a post on my LinkedIn which went pretty viral, and the lady that's just got the job is called Harry Walsh. And I'm going to show you what she did to stand out from 16,000 applicants. And this feeds into this idea of medium and message, this framework I've made so that you can stand out, which I'll show you after our phone call. Hello, you right?
How are you doing?
I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, I guess my question is like, how are you planning on staying in with the culture and how involved do you want to be in that sort of moving forward?
So I think that the most important thing the company will do is find people and bind them with a culture that makes them do the best work of their life.
Yep.
The third sort of foundational principle there is setting a vision that is inherently worthwhile. So the reason why I said I'm head of culture and head of people is because those are the first two responsibilities of anyone that founds a company. So ultimately my objective is to get the team to a point where I'm obviously needed less and we're all very ideologically aligned, where we're not just accepting culture and happiness and these kinds of things in recruitment the way that it's been done, but we're, as you said, through experimentation, through thinking about the way that the world is changing, we're creating a new blueprint for how to get people to love their work, to do the best work of their life, etc.
I'm going to pause it here to interject. While this doesn't apply to my current situation, very recently I was applying to many positions. I was trying to find an operator position, whether that was in operations, essentially either leading a team as a supervisor, as a team leader, whatever that might be. And while I was applying, I kept iterating every single time my CV, my cover letter, just finding new ways to micro-optimize to get better chances. I started getting more interviews once I figured out the small little details that were standing in my way. While listening to this episode, there is a conceptual amount of information that is very interesting and that directly relates to job interviews. But I want to highlight one specific piece of advice I heard from others and that we're also seeing here. When you are in a job interview, if you're actually qualified, if you're actually a professional, or if you even just want to demonstrate that you know what you're about, the common advice we always hear is have a few questions prepared. And that is vital. Yes, you want to have questions prepared. But if you're going to be working for someone who is worthy of your time, it's also important that they be worthy of yours, because no, let's call them A player, wants to work for a company that doesn't also work for them. it has to be a two-way exchange. If you just go there for money, then okay, cool. At the end of the day, that is what you're going to get. You're going in for a wage, they give you tasks, and then you leave. And here's where it gets really tricky. We have this tendency in our culture, in our society, or here in speaking about the West, let's say, in the West, as a broad stroke category, we have this mindset that you come for a job, you come for work, and then once you're done, you clock out, you leave, and you disconnect emotionally and physically. It's a part of why a business owner takes on a lot more responsibility, a lot more risk. When something doesn't go right, when someone doesn't show up, they have to come in and fill the gaps. When a client has a problem, they can't just say like, oh, well, it sucks to be you. It's like, my shift is over. Take care. You invest yourself a lot of time, a lot of energy. Your relationships start getting sacrificed. And so from the perspective of a business owner, from the perspective even of a supervisor, let's say, who works for a business owner, it is incredibly valuable to have a prospective employee who is asking you questions to understand if they fit within your culture. Because although it may increase the odds that there's a clash, when you find the business or the supervisor or the business owner who happens to quite literally mesh with your values, the fact that you are kind of interviewing them in turn demonstrates that you're curious, that you want to make sure you're not straddling yourself to a team that is going to sap your morale, sap your energy. If you are investing potentially years of your life, decades of your life with an organization, with an ecosystem, with a team, you want to make sure that that team is right for you. It will depend on your circumstances. If you really need a job, then maybe that's not your priority. But once you're a little comfortable, once you have a certain level of credibility, once you've learned to master certain elements of communication, of presentation, it is vital that you demonstrate in an interview process, something that I've learned and I'm learning once again through watching this. It is vital that you communicate to the person interviewing you that you are also in a very respectful way interviewing them back. What is the type of culture that your company has? What are the values? What am I to expect if I join your team? What are recent issues you've had with your employees? What are some of the obstacles that you yourself are working towards? What's your 5-year plan? What is essentially finding a way to demonstrate that you are proactive in your thinking, because very few employees think like an employer, which is part of why it is so difficult, from my understanding, to go through the hiring process. Most people simply don't want to work, and there are reasons for that, don't get me wrong. But when you can demonstrate to someone who has the mindset of an employer how you as an employee can relate to them and make their job easier, that is an incredible advantage over basically everyone else who is applying who will not be sharing that mindset. So I would like to get back to this and just show you more directly.
So to answer your line, the team talk.
She asks a question. So she's going to ask a question, and then he goes into it explaining in depth. You can see how emotional he is about it, or at least how logical he is about an emotional concept, demonstrating that his team relies on him to a certain extent, and he wants to be able to make them more independent. He finds that how you handle people is of incredible importance to him. So look at how she asks and how he answers.
I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, I guess my question is like, how are you planning on staying in with the culture, and how involved do you want to be in that sort of moving forward?
She wasn't just asking, what would it look like for me to be in this role? She was asking, what it would look like for me to be in this company, and how do you apply the values that you claim to be wanting to hire me for?
So I think that the most important thing the company will do is find people and bind them with a culture that makes them do the best work of their life.
Yep.
The third sort of foundational principle there is setting a vision that is inherently worthwhile. So the reason why I said I'm head of culture and head of people is because those are the first two responsibilities of anyone that founds a company. So ultimately my objective is to get the team to a point where I'm obviously needed less, and we're all very ideologically aligned, where we're not just accepting culture and happiness and these kinds of things in recruitment the way that it's been done, but we're, as you said, through experimentation, through thinking about the way that the world is changing, we're creating a new blueprint for how to get people to love their work, to do the best work of their life, etc. So to answer your question super directly, it will always be the most important thing for me, but my involvement in it naturally should reduce as I get more ideologically aligned with the people that run that department.
And so essentially, he explains why it is one of his values. He explains his future goals in that he wants to be able to onboard some of these responsibilities and disconnect to a point so that he can prioritize other aspects of the business. And in doing so, he demonstrates the point of value he's looking for her to fulfill. He wants her to be able to take on some of this challenge, this load, to allow him to repartition his energy and his attention elsewhere. Because of her question, she now has a better understanding of exactly what he's looking for and his inner motivations of why. He wants his company to prosper. He wants his employees to be connected to one another. He wants to value human connection. He wants to regain some of his time. He wants to build autonomy within his company. Now you have 5 different leverage points of information that you as a prospective interviewee can use to negotiate and navigate this process. By asking the right questions, you get such incredible leverage in any conversation, whether it's an interview or literally anything else. It can be a conversation with a friend or a complete stranger, a negotiation with a business partner. Whatever it is, there's always opportunities for growth, and the better your questions, the clearer the path forward.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. It was really great to speak to you as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. Speak to you soon, okay, Harry?
All right. See you later. Bye.
So Harry has been given the job as our head of happiness, and the reason why she stood out amongst 16,000 applications is because of this very, very simple framework, which all of you should think about every time you send a message or email to anybody that you want something from. On one axis, we have the medium, which is the channel you're using to contact them. And at the top, we have a high signal medium. So this is a channel that is rarely used, that is less noisy, more likely to be opened, more direct, and more emotionally disarming. So for example, sending a letter in the post is rarely used, it's less noisy, it's more likely to be opened because most important people still open their own post. It's incredibly direct and it's less emotionally disarming. A very, very noisy medium is just sending someone an email in the recruitment inbox. Signal is good, it's something that cuts through, but the opposite of that is something that is noise. And if you use a channel to contact somebody that is high noise, that means it's saturated, it's often filtered or ignored, it's full of noise, and it's easier to dismiss. And the problem most of you face is you're focusing on high noise channels. But the other axis you have to think about is the impact of the message. And I'm going to tell you through this framework, this RICE framework, how to write a high impact message. But the opposite of a high impact message is apathy, when people just don't care, when it's non-emotionally resonant. Harry sent a 7-minute personalized video, which was emotional, it was funny, explaining exactly why she was the perfect person for the role. So she was very, very high impact, but also she didn't send it through the typical recruitment inboxes. She didn't apply for the job through the proper channels. She emailed executives at the company privately on LinkedIn and in other ways. One of them saw it because it was high impact and they sent it to me. So Harry landed up here, a high impact message that was delivered through a high signal channel. The reason why so many of your messages get ignored is because they end up in the bottom left of this quadrant. You send them through noisy channels and you're sending generic, boring CVs.
Okay, so this is very interesting, and I have personal anecdotes that corroborate this. Personally, I have not done something like this when it comes to, let's say, a job interview or presenting myself in a certain specific way. However, I have 2 friends and colleagues, I think that's a fair description, who have engaged in a unique communication style of their own. One of them is a professional speaker by trade, and he regularly sends requests to do public speaking or has people send him requests, and he'll be booked for, let's say, an hour for a lecture in person or virtual, whatever that might be. And in that interview process, he has found a few ways to stand out. He will send customized messages. He'll send a video message, for example, as part of his email, linked to another platform that allows for such things. He will customize his demands or his interview style with them to better sell himself, what he has to offer. And because he uses such an uncommon medium, it is fantastic. Then again, it is tied to his presentation style and what he offers. He is a communication specialist. He literally gives talks about how to better connect with yourself, with others, how to master those elements of missing social connection that most of us go through our entire lives, the entire education process, without having fully mastered. The act of interacting with one another as equals, as partners, as peers. And because this is his specialization, doing it in this way, having a personalized message that fosters more connection, that invites more growth, that is more warm and welcoming, is exactly what he is looking for in terms of a channel audience and growth. It makes a lot of sense for, not channel audience, in terms of potential audience and revenue growth. It makes just sense for him. Someone else. When he was applying to a job, what he did is he knew this was a long distance online call. He was going to have a 1 hour or so interview meeting with a head of a department. He knew the physical building address and location of this individual. He knew their name. So he arranged, and this is brilliant, he arranged for a paid individual, essentially an actor, to dress up in a secret agent suit, a little wire and everything, to have a briefcase that contained information relevant to the job application itself. And he had this individual, minutes before the interview was supposed to start, go to the building and essentially go through reception and everything and hand him this briefcase personally, looking all official, standing out. And he basically, exactly as this video suggests, went through the uncommon medium to break through the noise. So basically his signal was very strong, the noise was very low, and it wasn't apathy, it was a high message impact. Because of it, he got the job essentially near instantly, but he did it because he was able to both impress the person before and after, or during the interview process itself. He had someone show up with a briefcase, with a suit, a little secret agent communication wire, and he gave the person the briefcase. He had a few minutes to look through it, be all impressed, and then he had to jump on the meeting while still feeling, oh my god, what just happened? I've never seen anything like it. And it was so unconventional, it was so daring, that the company itself, it happened to just fit quite nicely. Their entire motto was about seeking discomfort, and so they gave him the job, and he was very successful at it. He ended up leaving and pursuing his own journey once again as a professional speaker. And that is also going very well because he's applying what he learns. This is exactly true. And so that actually is going to be my first point of note. The importance of... Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So now it's going to be the importance of cutting through noise via signal. And unfortunately, because this is Word and there's no... Oh, it's not... This is not Word. Can I make a draw? Insert drawing? Ooh, yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So let's, can I put a line? No. Shapes. Maybe? Is there an arrow? Yes, lovely. Arrow. Perfect. And arrow. Oh, no. Shape. Arrow. Arrow. Mia Isabella, welcome. Howdy, howdy. It is a pleasure to have you here. I'm currently trying to set up a little diagram. I don't often use Google Doc, and I see why. Okay, perfect. This little arrow here. My day is going quite well. What of yours? And thank you. It's an interesting platform. I'm very new to it. However, so Kick has a bit of a reputation, right? It's a bit more controversial, a bit more loose, shall we say? And I'm learning to appreciate what that means. I am from Quebec, Canada. So essentially, I'm more Anglophone, but technically I also do speak French depending on your location. Now, I know it's not polite etiquette to ask specifically where you're from, so if you like, we can be more broad. Is there a country and or a continent which you come from, to give me a better understanding of your time zone and cultural implications, cultural background, shall we say. Here, we can put signal, high signal, perfect. A little more text on the bottom, high noise. So essentially also what I'm currently doing is wait, how do you move this? Oh, that is really, I'm not super impressed with this, I'll say. Okay, good enough. Do you see my chat? Yes, I do see your chat, both on screen and on a side chat window. Do you hear my responses? But yes, I do see your chat, unless maybe there was another message you sent. The last one that I saw is, by the way, where are you from? And so I'm from Quebec, Canada, and, well, North America, let's say. And, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this interface. Very interesting. One day, this will of course be much more intuitive and automated. Right now we will have to make do with the limitations of 21st century tech. Yes, it really is. Have you been there before? Specifically Montreal, if that means anything to you. I have been streaming, so actually that is I'm going to answer that in a very honest fashion. Technically, I've been streaming on and off for approximately 3 years, maybe 3.5. But the reality of the situation, I have only been regularly streaming for about 1 week, I would say. Even then, the first, let's say, official stream was last Wednesday, and then due to circumstances pre-planned, I could not go through my usual schedule. But as of now, I will be streaming every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday around the same time. And my goal is to essentially document the experience of becoming a fully fledged human. I find that so many people have interests and desires that they leave untapped, and the truth is, life is intimidating sometimes, and I want to face my fears, I want to develop as a person, and so my goal is essentially to master the human experience, to complete the game of life. And I see streaming as an opportunity, one, to connect with people and to develop that aspect of myself, to overcome, let's say, social discomfort, fear of communicating with others, fear of publishing life. However, there's also the second aspect of developing oneself in learning what we're about as people, as a person. Now, are you a daily streamer on Kick? No, I'm not a daily streamer on Kick. However, what I do is, this is a multi-stream. So I'm using streaming software to go simultaneously to YouTube, to Twitch, and to Kick. So essentially, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will be streaming on Kick. Not daily, but close-ish. And I will also be streaming on 3 other platforms for now. In time, I will want to stream on others, but at a certain point, you have to know the limits of what is realistic and healthy. So right now, I'm keeping it to these 3, and I'm simply exploring. Each platform, as I'm sure you're aware, has a different mindset, a different audience, a different target. So for example, on Kick, it's a lot more open-minded. Oh, absolutely, please. You'll find that with me, I'm very open, probably more so than most, and I'm always open to either hearing what you have to say or even potentially feedback. I'm a very new streamer, so not only am I open to feedback, I'm actively encouraging and looking forward to it. So anything you have to share will be taken with my best attempt at integrity and grace. And while you do that, I'm going to write this message. High message impact. Actually, I'm an illustrator. I do work for streamers and make their stream assets. So basically, I'm looking for some commission work. Yes, so essentially, I had someone pop into my chat, I'd say a year ago, with a very similar message. And I did actually take them up on it. It was a very interesting collaboration. I ended up giving them a section of my Discord chat. So here's the thing. I'm not opposed to the idea. However, at this point in time, I have no need for it. Perhaps at some point I could. What I would suggest is take a look at my Discord. On Kick, it will not be integrated yet. I am relatively new to this, so what I'm going to do is just give me a sec. I'm going to share this link. Okay, so here is my link tree. On it, you will find a link to my Discord. On the Discord, if you go down, and by the way, keep in, like, this is very, very new. I'm still setting up a lot of it. However, you will notice that there is a section where it is, actually, I should even open it up so I can see what I'm talking about. there's a section that is essentially for projects and individuals that I work with. I am somewhat unconventional. I'm not against us working together sometime in the future, and if you do want us to work together, I would suggest you just message somewhere in the general chat, so that way I have a copy of your message and your log and I can find you. However, there is a condition for us to work together. I demand near complete transparency in everything that I do. It's a standard that I hold myself to, and it will be a standard that I hold to the people that I either work with or who work for me. And so, it's almost open. I'll be able to tell you more specifically what I'm looking for in a sec. Yeah, so now here's exactly what I mean. I will not be adding you directly. I want you to message in chat in public, and if you actually want to work with me in the general text channel, you will have to share who you are and what you do publicly. If this is not something you're comfortable with, that is perfectly fine by me. I would never want to pressure you. It also means I do not want to work with you. If you look a little, there's a section called business. If you open the business tab, there is a chat called Bethany Stark. This is an individual that I worked with, the one that I mentioned. She also is a graphic designer, and we essentially did the entirety of our business dealings, except for very specific things like sending payments or private information on the back end. But basically everything that we did together is fully open and fully public. I do not require your work right now, but if you want to post your work, you are entirely free to do so in the general text channel by sending a message. I'll have a link to your account. If ever down the line I'm interested, I can reach out to you directly. And if you place a link to where I could find some of your content to see what the quality of your work is, I would be more than happy to. However, like I mentioned, every single thing that we do together will be public. If you are not comfortable with that, like I said, perfectly fine. It is not a need. And so I wish you best of luck if it is not something you're comfortable with, and if it is something you're comfortable with, then please send a message in the general text channel along with a link so that I can see what your previous work is about, your portfolio, whether that is a website or anything of the sort. You'd even just paste images in there if you like. And in time, I will actually make a different channel for publicity for people who want to potentially work with me, so that way you can show your work there. But like I said, it will have to be public. It is unconventional, and if you're not okay with that, that is completely okay with me. So, the ball is in your court, Mia Isabella. Nice name, by the way. So, high impact message, and let's copy. Can I copy this? That'd be practical. It would be practical, and it does not seem like it is working out that way. Fantastic. So, let's just make a different chat box. Okay. And low impact message. Okay. Low impact message. Perfect. Can I? Okay. And let's remove this. High impact message. Perfect. So now with this illustration, I will be able to... this illustration, we can now customize this process a little more. Beautiful. And to make it a little bit smaller, let's do the same thing here. Low impact message, high impact message. Ah, beautiful. Okay. Now save and close. That is actually not as bad as I thought it would be. Fantastic. So now we will continue breaking down this video and archiving its contents. Cutting through noise via signal. Interesting. Okay.
If you end up here with the messages you send, you will have a hard life. So every time you go to send someone a message, think about this framework and focus on channels that are high in signal and write messages that are high impact.
What do I remember thinking when I first got sent the job application? I'd already seen how many people had liked Stephen's post. So I was like, well, I need to do something to
stand out. And I think, well, I've worked around recruiters, you know, I can see that they're skimming through CVs and things like that. So you need to show that you know what you're talking about and just do something a little bit different that isn't just like loads of words on a page. So I thought I'll make a video.
And if you've been paying attention, I know what question you've probably been asking yourself, which is, Stephen, how do I write a message that is high impact? Well, there's a skill to that, so you don't have to guess, which is exactly where this RICE framework comes in.
People have 4 basic motivations, and we call those 4 basic motivations RICE. R-I-C-E stands for reward, ideology, coercion, and ego.
Okay, so now I wonder if this is going to be the RICE. So ego, coercion, identity. Okay, we'll have to listen to this again.
Reward is
reward, ideology, coercion, ego. Okay, so I do wonder if this is going to be what he's mentioning here. Reward, ideology, coercion. Ah, that's with a C. Coercion. English is such a strange language. Yep. Coercion and ego. So let's see if I can... Perfect. And then ego. Let's get the formatting in place. Lovely. We resume.
Anything that you want. Money, free vacations, pat on the back. People do lots of crazy things for rewards.
And these rewards change over time.
And based on person.
Okay.
Right? The second primary motivator is ideology. Ideology is the things that you believe in. People do crazy things for the things they believe in, whether it's their religion, whether it's their country, whether it's their family, whether it's what they believe is morally correct, right? So if you can assign, if you can... Ideology is the vacations, pat on the back. Reward is anything that you want. Money, free vacations, pat on the back. People do lots of crazy things for rewards.
And these rewards change over time.
And based on person,
okay.
Right? The second primary motivator is ideology. Ideology is the things that you believe in. People do crazy things for the things they believe in, whether it's their religion, whether it's their country, whether it's their family, whether it's what they believe is morally correct, right? So if you can assign, if you can speak to somebody through the lens of their ideology, you can get them to do incredible things. C is coercion. Coercion is all the negative things. Guilt, shame, blackmail, anything that you do to force someone to take certain action by leaning into the negative element of motivation, which is also known as manipulation, that falls under the C, or coercion. And then E, ego, is everything that has to do with how the person views themselves. So oftentimes ego gets oversimplified into thinking that it's just people who have a big ego, right? Somebody like Donald Trump who has a big ego, or you name the famous actor who has a big ego. Ego is also people who don't have big egos. Mother Teresa had an ego. She wanted to sacrifice for other people. She wanted other people to see her sacrificing for other people. That is also ego. So with these 4 core motivations, you have a rubric, a process to understand why other people do what they do. If you understand why other people do what they do, all you have to do is connect what they care about with what you want them to do, and you just increase the probability of them doing what you want them to do.
This is really cool. Really, really, really cool. Every year they release a list of the fastest growing companies in the land. And this year, the fastest growing company that is founder-led is Perfect TED, which is the matcha company we've invested about $1 million into. And they're actually a part of our building. They're upstairs right now. I'm going to go upstairs, congratulate them, and chat to them about all things business. They stay very, very late in this building. They're often here till midnight at night, and we have lots of late night conversations about random things. So it's probably going to be another one of those. Upstairs is Levi and Teddy, who are brothers. They're founders of the company. Marissa is the other founder. She's married to Levi, but Marissa isn't here. So let's go upstairs and chat to them and congratulate them on their win. Come with me.
That's your personal question.
Yeah.
Does Mel like how ambitious you are?
She likes how ambitious I am, yeah.
Mel is his partner, his girlfriend. I think maybe fiance. I'm not really up on the lore. I don't follow him that closely.
But what comes with that is not necessarily conducive with her needs all the time.
Yeah.
Like just if you're not being there.
Yeah, like not being there, but even when you're there, sometimes not being present is the cost.
Were you dating while you were at Social Chain?
Yeah, just at the tail end of it. I was living in New York when I met her.
And even for my relationship with Marissa, it's like we go home, we're super trained, all we do is talk about work. Like it's not healthy.
You need to find time for a romance, and also it's hard to have sexual connection if your cortisol levels are high, you're stressed or exhausted. And as a founder, you're going to be high. You're going to be like high cortisol, stressed, and
It's like
exhausted.
having 2 of us in a room.
Yeah.
I'll get home tonight and Levi will call me and be like, seen Amazon, it's popping off.
We do like maybe 50% more work because we're always working.
Yeah.
It's mad. The output is insane. Anyway.
It's not sustainable though. That's the problem.
It's not sustainable, 100%.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's bank holiday. We are in Flex Stories HQ. Look at this over here. Bank holiday, 7 p.m. Christiana Moneymaker is in the office Smashing it. She is the hardest working person I think I've ever met in my life. And she's the woman that makes all the money. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? What the fuck, you got headphones on then? Oh, so no one bothers you. What's going on?
Right now I'm responding to a new lead for a new brand partnership request, catching up on the commercial pipeline, reforecasting revenue for the next 6 months, and working on B1 of our 3-year business plan.
How are you feeling about our chances of hitting our goals?
Yeah, well, I feel very confident we'll hit 30 million this year. We've had some delays in hiring, which has really impacted the progress, particularly with our speaking revenues.
Have we found someone yet that can run the speaking business?
No, it's been one of the most difficult roles to hire for.
I was thinking about this the other day, because I find myself telling people all the time that we have a hiring problem, and it doesn't really make sense because we have tens of thousands of people apply for jobs, and that inbox has like 50,000 applicants in it now, and we still can't find good people for key
Of those
roles.
10,000, on the balance of probabilities, 1% is going to be the psychos that we need.
Only 1%.
So, when listening to this, it's very interesting because I'm viewing it from two angles. The first is I intend to one day be a business owner. I would like to have employees, or at least people who work with me in perhaps a co-op style. That being said, I am also interested from the employee side of things because I have been an employee all my life. And right now, one can argue that as I am self-employed, I am both my own boss and my employee. I'm responsible to myself. I have goals that I need to set out, and if I don't show up to work, well, I'm not going to fire myself. And so it becomes even more important to simultaneously hold these two perspectives in line. When I hear something like this, that they have tens of thousands of applicants and yet they cannot find the people that they want, and then she specifically says they're looking for that 1% psycho, it makes me wonder, what kind of employee would I want to be for myself? If I am my own boss and I'm also my own employee, what do I expect from myself? What do I require from myself? I'm going to keep this in mind as we continue to listen on this breakdown. I have a feeling it's going to get interesting.
They're going to be psychos, what we need.
We're looking for the top, let's say 5%. We're looking for the top 5% people in the
I
world
do
that
have
the
an
necessary
Instagram.
skills,
Welcome
experience,
back.
Mindset, commitment.
Yes, actually, so on the link tree, the link that has popped up a few times, I do believe there's an Instagram in there. But I'm also learning how to use it. Because that's the, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. Because I'm very new to content creation, I'm also very new to the marketing aspect of being a pro-social individual. Historically, I haven't liked having social media profiles. I don't like playing the game. I don't like pretending to be something that I'm not. And because of it, my content is more unconventional. You'll find that on Instagram, I went out of my way to literally post unflattering pictures of myself that I found either funny or that represented the nature of my character. I don't take myself too seriously, or at least I try not to. And that's even actually part of the name, Only Human, the brand, shall we say. Because it's a reminder to myself, but it's also a promise that at the end of the day, I do my best. I genuinely try my best at all times. However, I am only human. We all are only human. That means something. It means that we cannot be perfect, nor should we hold ourselves to that standard. But it also then implies an interesting... There's an interesting application of that concept. Because if you extrapolate, let's say, we are not perfect. We can never be perfect. It is impossible to be perfect. As a human being, it is impossible to be perfect. What does that imply? Either that you give up completely, or that you try your absolute fucking best. And I don't see an in-between. I really just don't see an in-between. Either you are all in, or you're not. And what determines if someone is all in or they're not? I gave this a lot of thought, and I ended up coming with this following idea. Feel free to jump in or to share your thoughts. I'd be very curious. I don't often get to speak about this with people. I have a concept that I call perfect imperfection, and here's the general idea. No matter what you do, no matter how you do it, no matter when you do it, you will always have done your best, because if you could have done better, you literally would have. Therefore, whether that was mental, psychological, financial, no matter the reason and the circumstance, you always literally do your best, because if you could have done better, you would have. Meaning, perfect imperfection is the understanding that no one can be perfect. It is the ability to accept that everything you do is the best you could have. And this is a sort of mindset shift that allows you to disconnect from shame and guilt and doubt, these emotions that build up in the background, especially if you don't face them, you don't give them the disinfectant that is sunlight. over time they start dragging you down. They start making you very slow and emotionally overloaded. The way that I see it, perfect imperfection is a way of using shame from the past to incentivize a lack of shame in the present, to incentivize a future predictive outcome. If your goal is to achieve a certain standard, like let's say for me, content creation, my goal is to build a content creation platform, to build an audience, to be more regular. Well, a part of that is facing the audience. A part of that is being regular, being consistent, applying healthy principles, not being too insecure, but also not being too arrogant. It's finding that nice little in between. However, I have done all of those mistakes in the past. If I sink into the feelings of the past, the shame, the guilt, all I do in the present is avoid, which means that in the future, I will not have the outcome that I prefer. So if instead I reverse engineer to have the outcome that I want in the future, what is required from me in the present, and how does that differ from what I did in the past? Well, perfect imperfection would dictate that the best thing I can do is my best. And what did I do in the past? Well, I did my best. Therefore, I can just automatically remove all the shame, all the guilt, all the doubt, all the hesitation, because it does not serve my present moment. And so in the present, I have a clearer understanding of the mindset, the feelings that I need and require from myself to achieve those objectives. And therefore, all of that to say, yes, I have an Instagram. What about it? Actually, let's see. I was kind of curious if you had messaged me on Instagram, and I was just going to tell you that that is, once again, not how it's going to work. I'm not opposed to us working together. It will have to be public and on Discord. So if that is something you're curious about, and like I said again, right now I literally cannot afford any of your services, but I am looking for people who could do some form of graphic art. Once I have the ability to do so, I want to lean away from AI and onto human manufacturing, because I very much enjoy the process of supporting individual creators and artists. Especially as we reach an age of overt digital commercialization, everything being AI, everything just squeezing exponential profits, it's going to become more and more important for us to retain that human spark, that human element. Of course, AI will be a part of everything that I do. It has to be. However, it doesn't have to be the only thing that I do. And I do, of course, want to support the human aspect of a human community. So yeah. Back to the video.
Commitment levels,
Really?
urgency, appetite, entrepreneurial spirit, obsession, investment in our purpose and our mission.
It really makes me realise that maybe we need to spend more time on hiring. Like, as if I'm saying that.
For a company that says our most valuable asset is finding and nurturing these A players, is our resource, both money and time, actually being spent where we're saying it's the most valuable? And in all cases, the answer to that is no. And for some reason, it keeps us getting washed over.
So you're saying we need more people in-house doing recruiting?
More people that fit our prototype than recruiting the next wave.
Beyond Andrew?
Beyond Andrew, yeah. We need, let's say, an army of Andrews.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Sometimes you just got to say it out loud for you to go, fucking hell yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Haven't we got this guy that Amy mentioned coming into your team? There was a guy that she used to work with, she recommended. I think you've interviewed him. She's got a pretty good track record.
I agree, so I think that's worth, conversations, Georgie.
One of the best ways to hire new people into your company is by asking your team members, especially your best team members, who is the best person they've ever worked with. And in fact, a lot of the great people that now work here at Flight Story are a consequence of me asking that question. So actually, Christiana, who you just met then, and Georgie, when they joined, I sat them down and I was like, who's the best person you've ever worked with? And they said, Austin. So we hired Austin. When Amy joined, I said, who are the best people that you've worked with? And Amy said, Maz. So we hired Maz. Obviously, all of them have to pass the interview process, but one of the things that's held to be true is that exceptional team members of yours in your company tend to know exceptional people, and they tend to have worked with exceptional people. So one of the...
I'd like that. Exceptional people tend to have worked with exceptional people. No, tend to know exceptional. Tend to know. To know exceptional people. Oh, by the way, something I'll be doing later is literally practicing my typing skills. It's part of just brain development, and so I used to be able to type with my eyes closed just literally quite quickly, but that's when I was still in CJEP and a little bit university, just typing my notes every day. Now, multiple years later, I've lost most of the skill, and I want to get back into it. I want to learn to re-automate a lot of these little micro skills that come in very useful for anyone who spends even more than a few hours per week at a computer.
The best things you can do is go and ask everybody in your team the question, who is the best person you've ever worked with, and then go and try and get that person into the interview process and convince them that their career should be spent on this mission, on this team. It's hard finding. It's really, really hard finding great people for your company. and I spend a ridiculous amount of time just hunting for these unicorns, and you probably should too.
By contrast, blue ocean or market creating strategy is about how to create and capture unknown markets where demand is created rather than fought over.
You're like an iPad chin at a restaurant.
You know what I think all the time? I actually recorded this last time. I thought, like, people watch Behind the Diary, and I think a lot of them watch it because maybe they want to, like, walk in your footsteps in their own lives, so they might want to start a business or a project or a podcast, whatever. But I always think, if they actually knew what my life looked like, they wouldn't fucking want to do it.
Nah, trust me, well,
They wouldn't want to do it. I think they think, if you become, like, successful or you're a millionaire or whatever, you're like, you know, like Barbados and, like, Hawaii and stuff. And I'm like, sure, some people do that. But I think the possession, the self-possession that gets you here, keeps you here at midnight. And I think that's the kind of paradox of this game, is like, you get freedom, but the thing that gets you the freedom is also the thing that stops you using the freedom to go to Hawaii. I spend so many nights here alone, or if not here, somewhere else, just completely alone, working on some little piece of bullshit. Why? Yeah. This is just the thing I want to be doing for whatever reason. I want to be doing this, so...
But you don't think it's
just really ugly. That's what I want people to know, that if you think working hard and becoming successful is going to result in a beautiful, wonderful, glamorous life, maybe think again, because the very thing that will get you there will keep you away from the beautiful, wonderful, glamorous life. Because the type of person that would have wanted the beautiful, wonderful, glamorous life never would have done the thing that got them the beautiful, wonderful, glamorous life. They probably would have had a much easier life, a much easier job, much more certainty, much more safety, and 5 holidays a year, and weekends and evenings. So maybe that's... I'd love to know, like, the math on that. It is 1 a.m. on Friday, as you can see here. And I'm just having a moment which I characterize as the reality of entrepreneurship. I am in the office. I've just been cleaning up a little bit. I'm going to be locking up the office. I've been working every single day this week, super late, struggling to get to the gym. My girlfriend's back in town now, and we were going to do something tonight, but I've overworked and deadlines have got on top of me. And it's 1 a.m. and I'm in this big, dark, cold, lonely office alone with my thoughts. And this is entrepreneurship. This is the 99% of entrepreneurship. Being self-possessed through drudgery on your own when no one is watching. And I started Behind the Diary to show you more of that stuff, because that's the reality of it. Boredom tolerance, drudgery tolerance. Are you the type of person that is willing to work extremely hard in a way that most people aren't? And are you willing to do it with a religious belief that it will be worth it, even when the signs of it being worth it are potentially 5 or 10 years away? If you are, then you will probably be a successful entrepreneur. If you aren't willing, then you're going to find it extremely difficult, and you're going to feel like an unlucky person. I feel like a lucky person, because drudgery has paid off for me.
The most successful person I know currently runs, I think, literally 5 or 6 companies and is about to start a few others. One of his companies recently went under, and he's literally just starting a few more. He's been doing this for over 10, maybe 15 years. And he is so busy. And I see that it comes at a massive cost. He doesn't sleep very much. And then again, he seems to be relatively functional. He might just have that wiring where he can get away with less sleep. Most people are not in that situation, and I can't help but wonder how potentially detrimental this kind of a lifestyle is. You sacrifice your time, first of all, so you have less time for friends, for socializing, but it's more than that. You have less time for human connection, for socialization, and the deeper you go into it, the more that you realize you have no time. Like, I have many projects. For those of you who may or may not know, I have many projects, many documents, many binders, many little things. I've got an exercise project, a fitness project. I've got dozens of others. Like, literally just like dozens and dozens of projects. By the end of my life, I'm going to have potentially hundreds. And the more that I see them accumulate, the more that I develop each individual project, each segment, each paper, each document, it just starts to hit me. I'm not going to have any time, not unless I make time, but if I make time, I'm going to be slowing down the projects, and so it really becomes an investment. Are you ready for the implications of success? Like, there's this famous line from Eminem where he wanted his cake and to eat it too. He wanted to be famous, but also be left alone out in public. Like, that's not how it works. Either you are well known or you're not. Either you're successful or you're not. And like he said, like Stephen Bartlett said, the same characteristics that lead you to being productive to the point of financial success are also the traits that will prevent you from being able to simply bask in it. In part because if you leave it, then your entire empire starts to collapse. Or you haven't been programmed that way because you've literally spent years or decades tailoring yourself to not disconnect, to not take time off. You're always on, you're always on, you're always on. And that burns through you, or it destroys all of your social relationships, or at least makes them significantly weaker. And then when you do want to take time off, well, who do you spend it with? You might not have a successful relationship because you're spending all your time in the office or working or traveling. You don't have many friendships because they're all either as busy as you are, or you just don't have any friends. And so then it becomes a self-reinforcing loop. And so the question is, let's say I'm looking at this from my perspective. I do want success, financially, sure, but I mean more, I want to be able to succeed in the projects that I have. And given the nature of my projects, they are very social, they're very societal and cultural, which means I'm not stuck in a boardroom all day, but I might be stuck in a boardroom several hours, multiple times a week. I think that is a fair balance, and so long as I outsource it to people who do want to live their lives in this way, who do feed off of that type of energy, I believe there is a fair compromise to be found. I know that I don't want to be a CEO of every business that I'm related to. That's just not me. I am an inventor. I'm a creator. I'm a seeker. I'm very curious and introspective, and I would also like to think unfathomably kind. And those are not qualities that necessarily align me for CEO. At least not of any major powerful companies, to an extent. So I don't know. I'll need to spend a lot more time just navigating life to see what I'm looking for, what I'm adept at, and what skills translate to my objectives. But this is a very good reminder that to achieve the uncommon goal, you have to be an uncommon person and be willing to do uncommon things. And if your goal is impossible, you will have to do impossible things at an impossible cost. Are you okay with that? And if you are, then there is only one road to go down, and that is straight ahead. I'm saying this in part for myself and in part for you. Good luck, whatever you choose.
I am from the Diary of a CEO. How are you? You okay?
Good, yeah. I do watch a lot of your videos.
Oh, thank you.
Some inspiration.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to
How are
meet
you?
you as well.
There was something quite ironic about me saying how if you're willing to commit, then you'll be successful and then you'll get results. And just as I stepped out of here, the first person on the street was someone that listens to the show and gave me a great compliment about how the show's impacted his life. But it's those moments, right? Like, that's given me enough energy to last me another week, or maybe another month, or maybe another year. Like, hearing those things that you guys leave in the comments, and when I come outside and I go for a walk or I meet people, is why all the drudgery suddenly feels meaningful, suddenly feels worthwhile. And it really is worth it. It really is worth it. So when people say, oh, like, you're a workaholic, you work too hard, and why'd you do it? Like, that's why. Isn't that what we're all looking for in our work? Aren't we all looking for, like, the feeling that our work is worthwhile and that it's having an impact? And I'm so glad. I'm so lucky that I get that, in the work that I do. So, yeah.
That is what I'm looking for in myself, for my work to have an impact. How would I phrase this in my notes? Goal. That your work fuels desire for more work. Feels a little clunky, but it is close to what I'm attempting to say.
Very, very grateful. Hello. You right? How do you think about mental health? I've heard you speak about your mental health before, and
I don't. Well, the thing is, here's the problem. Like, it's if my mental health was a priority, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. I mean, and that's just like a sad fact. Like, I obviously never would have buried myself alive for 7 days, 7 days of solitary, 7 days on a desert island, 7 days, blah blah blah. It's like, you know, being consistently uncomfortable and like being able to consistently suffer over long periods is like arguably one of the deepest modes. Like there's a reason no one makes videos like me. One year I was flying like 200 days, like I was on a plane. I mean, it was a fuck fest. It's like, you know, when I wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna be pretty fucking tired and feel like shit, I'm gonna go, you know, something I always tell myself is how you feel right now is why no one else does what you want to do or does what you do. And if you push through this, that's just even, you know, more of a reason why no one will ever be who you are. And so it's like, I think being able to push through unhappiness and do things you don't want to do consistently year after year over the course of a decade is like the ultimate advantage.
Hey boss.
Hello, mate, you're right.
Somebody brought this to the car for you, and I thought I'll bring it up.
Could you like stand over there, open it? If it's edible, eat. If it's drinkable, drink. Wait 1 hour. If you feel fine.
But you're gonna love this.
Bring it to me.
Oh my god, it's counting down.
You're such a bad man. But here we go. And when you open it, there's a drink in there for you.
Oh, we just thought it was that.
No. That's the champagne in there.
So it's Diary of a CEO, 10 million.
It's come all the way from France. I told him to leave a number. He said, no. He's just a friend of the Diary.
So, I have 2 timers. The first is set up that I actually forgot about, where every hour I have the Only Human Ko-Fi page. And then the second is the restream.io one, which has my link tree. I'm realizing that I can deactivate the link tree one. No, I'd like to keep it. So every 30 minutes, the link tree will pop in chat and people can see what that is. However, here's a promise. Here's a system that I designed for myself. Every 60 minutes, the Ko-Fi stream bot will post in chat a link to my coffee. And if you look down on the bottom of the page, basically over here, a little bit, my cursor doesn't follow, but essentially down there, or if you look above that goal that I have up here, this is essentially what allows me to do what I do. Every 60 minutes, this message pops in the chat, and the way that I see it is it gives me an opportunity to practice the pitch, shall we say. The reality of the situation is that I have decided to create a new job category, that of employee of humanity. As such, as an employee of humanity, there is a wage to be paid. Otherwise, this is entirely unsustainable. I'm learning how to demonstrate, how to explain this with more grace and care. To not make it seem like I'm just asking for money, because the reality of the situation is I'm not just asking for money. I'm sharing a vision of a mission. What do I mean by this? My objective in life is to leave this world better than we found it, to be able to retire in the world to which we all could have been born. And in great part due to my principles, my adherence to my values and my principles, I am steadfast. To the best extent of my ability, I do not lie. To the best extent of my ability, I am not unkind. To the best extent of my ability, to 99.98%, I aim to align myself with integrity as best defined by my current understanding of unconditional love. This is a promise to myself, and it is also a promise to others. In order to do this, it requires a fair amount of introspection. It requires a high degree of curiosity and humility. I'm going to be very hard to corrupt, but that's in part because I'm going to be supported by anyone and everyone who believes my work is worthy of their support. The way that I've designed this platform, the way that I've designed the payment tiers are in terms of token, in terms of an amount that is big or small enough to you that it means something without breaking the bank. In fact, it is designed to be so small that if it were to fall on the floor, you would kind of hesitate to pick it up. Maybe it's dirty or you don't want to bend down, but it is of enough value that you almost certainly would. What I ask, and I ask very humbly, but I do ask, is a token of your support. Not of me necessarily, of the mission. The mission that is Only Human as a promise, but also that is literally my greater projects. I'm going to be spending the next 25 years going through a 5-phase model plan. Phase 5 begins in 2050, and up until that point, I have many projects, many phases, many points of development. And right now, as you can see above, we are in phase 2.5. Project Freedom is a bit of it's a name I came up with, but I honestly, it's a placeholder. It's not quite accurate. What you see above me, very simply, actually, I'll even say this like this. What you see above, right here, this is quite literally every single dollar that I could track that I have received towards this project, this mission, that of creating systems, making them open and available to people, being able to follow my curiosity and passion for a living and share everything that I discover with every single one of you. My goal is to make basically everything that I create free or basically free. And to the very few who cannot afford even what is basically free, I would want to put in place systems and mechanisms to ensure that a lack of financial ability does not prevent access to opportunities for growth. In order to do this, I am designing a system, a framework, to better understand what goes into creating a world that is fairer, that is kinder, and that is wiser for us all. Very simply put, I am fighting for a better world. And the mission that I've given myself is vast. And because of it, very few people are going to try. And because of it, even fewer people are going to believe it possible. And so most people will not believe it worthy of their support. This is where my request comes in. If you believe that a world with greater access to information, with fairer laws is a bit of a large placeholder. Let's say fairer cultural practices and habits, mindsets. If you believe that a world in which we are empowered to do our best and to be the best versions of ourselves, then, in that case, very specifically, I encourage you to join us on this mission. One of personal empowerment, one of self-development and growth. Whatever that might be, whatever that might mean, welcome to the human experience. Welcome to what it means to be only human, to be perfectly imperfect, and yet to try your best, no matter what. And with every single attempt, at every hour, I will get better. I will refine it through sheer practice alone. And so, this has been an attempt. I recognize that there were certain things that were a little long, a little lengthy. I also wasn't very clear on what exactly the mission is. It's in part also because I'm currently building it. Tired of streaming to 0? Let's change that. No thank you, but thank you. And so every single time that I go through this process, I will get better and learn what it means to publicly share this work, to encourage and incentivize and invite people to participate in this mission, and to do so with enthusiasm, with integrity, and with respect. I'm looking forward to that process, and all I can say is I am so excited to see what this world, what this adventure has in store. And so on that note, let us continue.
Champ Goal, was born to accompany you from the grind to the celebration. Success isn't about destination, it's about the journey and the effort you put in. Drink your goals. So I think it is either to help you achieve your goal or to celebrate a goal. Oh, okay, so you set a goal, then you reward yourself.
Yeah, the
Wait, what you just saw there with that bottle of champagne that some guy just gave to my driver is a prime example of that framework that I was talking about 2 seconds ago. He delivered a high impact message, which was a bottle of champagne with some LED lights on it, congratulating us on hitting 10 million subscribers. And he did it through a medium that was high signal. He literally handed it in person to my driver as we were going through the street. He cut through the noise, found a high signal channel, and delivered a high impact, emotionally resonant message, which means he was successful. Prime example, please copy this, steal this, use this. You know, I sat down with Paul Brunson last week. A couple of reasons why I wanted to catch up with him, just to give him some advice on some things with his podcast. But the other thing was I just want to get like a gauge on like how he's feeling as a podcaster. One of the things he said to me was,
I have a ritual every Tuesday. Come out at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I watch the pod at 6 a.m. on Spotify.
He's like, if I wake up in the morning and I look at the numbers,
I look to see what the response is, and I know immediately from there where it's going.
he was like, I've had like 2 episodes in a row that came out and like didn't go well, and he's like, it ruins my entire day.
If the numbers are there, it's like, you scored, it's good, it's gonna be a good day. If the numbers are, if the numbers are not, I'm demoralized for the rest of the day.
I can relate. But then you do get perspective, and this is what I was trying to give Paul, is like, it is a really long game. You're playing a long game, and you're gonna go like this, then you're going to go like this. You're going to go through Death Valley for 3 months. And you're going to randomly go way higher than you've ever been. Then you're going to go back into Death Valley for 3 months. And it just keeps going like that. So you have to, when you have your bad days, it's learn. When you have your good days, feel happy. But on the bad days, when the numbers aren't quite them, it's all just learning. And you've got to realize that no single episode is fatal. But it feels like that. You've got to detach from it. You've got to really have a framework for not getting caught up in the numbers too much. I've realized though that there's so many moments where it was tempting to give up the fight of care. What I mean by that is the level in which we care and how long we've cared for can take a toll on you. And there's moments where I've realized that other people would give up here because it's tough. And in that moment, what comes to mind is if I keep going at this moment, I'm leaving like 5% of people behind that like hit that hurdle and fell. I fully believe part of the game is just staying. Who can outlast, you know, and that's the same principle in most facets of life. It's like much of it will just be who can last the longest.
So I completely agree. And this gets back to mindset. So for example, Mindset Mondays, it's currently on theme. Much of longevity is simply outlasting everyone else. It makes sense when you say it, but until you think of it, it can be largely unintuitive at first. So how would one phrase this? The key to... Oh, that's way too big. Let's instead do this. Perfect. Okay. The key to success. Outlast everyone else. You don't even necessarily need to be all that good. You just need to be doing something better than average for longer than average, with the ability to introspect and to adapt better than average. If you do those 3 things, you will be able to essentially adapt to any situation, anywhere, at any time. Or at least you'll be able to do it better than you were before and that others can. And over time, you will find that you create an exponential amount of regeneration. Actually, this ties back to a concept that I have of, is it regenerative or is it degenerative? And the idea is, let's take a situation and you apply it exponentially. I wake up every morning, I eat a bunch of candy, and then I don't work out, and then I essentially doom scroll on my phone. Well, if I were to do that every single day, just exponential amounts of this lifestyle, would I go towards a regenerative or a degenerative? No, a degenerative or a regenerative future. I'm assuming most people would agree that if I were to wake up every single day, eat candy, not work out, doom scroll on my phone while lying in bed, destroy sleep hygiene, it would not be a very regenerative future. It would be, in fact, very degenerative. And so when I apply this framework, I ask myself, okay, this current action, this current thought, this current pattern, if I were to apply it exponentially, would it regenerate or degenerate my situation? Would it regenerate or degenerate my mental state? Would it regenerate or degenerate the outcome of certain projects or adventures or concepts that I'm aiming for? That always does provide me with remarkable clarity. And it is something that I found applies not only to myself, but to basically more or less everyone else. If it works for you, fantastic.
And then how do you build a team? How do you build a culture? How do you build your own mentality for longevity? If that's like a big part of the game. And if it's emotionally taking a toll on you like this, you won't be able to last long. So you need perspective. One of the biggest insights I've had in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 months about creating great company culture or team culture has been that company culture is not the thing that you come up with on your team offsite day. It's not the thing that you've written on the walls. It's not what the CEO says it is. It's none of those things. Culture is behavior. It is how your team behave. Culture is seen in the moment when one of your clients sends a text message on Sunday night and they need the login details to their account and the person that has them is on their honeymoon. What you do in that moment, how you behave, is your company culture. But because organizations think it's the like strategy offsite values that they wrote on the whiteboard thing, what ends up happening is you have just a culture of contradiction. You wrote that you're this, but everybody knows you're something else. So for me, the first thing is getting exceptionally clear, which has never been harder, on exactly the behaviors that you want from your team, and then really linking that to the mission, which is paramount, because sometimes it's like linked to the founder's trauma, because they're like insecure or whatever. But to sell the story to your team and to get their buy-in, it needs to actually be reverse engineered from what we're trying to achieve in the world. We are trying to be the best podcast in the world. So in order to become that, the behaviors we're going to need are, we're going to need a high rate of failure because the platforms are changing every week. We're going to need to be open-minded because we're going to speak to Elon Musk sometimes, and then we're going to speak to Boris Johnson and then Michelle Obama. So we're going to need a team that are like open-minded. We codify those into values, and then we hire based on that. We install our processes, our incentives, our trophies, our awards to incentivize those values, those behaviors, so we achieve our mission. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you. Thank you so much. As I was walking out of my talk, a lady came up to me and said she spent weeks trying to find a software developer for the tech idea that she has. This is a question I get asked all the time. How do you find a software developer or technical co-founder to help you build your business? And I think people think there's a complicated answer. Of course, it comes back to what I said earlier about the medium and message, but there's 2 other things you need to know about. The first is persistence, and the second is this RICE framework, which I'll tell you about now. So obviously there's 2 routes. You don't do it, but if you're going to do it, then exactly what you're doing is the only way. Find people. And I remember when I was starting my career, I had a similar challenge where I wanted to build a piece of software. I broke. I was in Manchester, dropped out of university. I'd never built software in my life before. So what did I do? I went on Google and I went down 3 pages of everyone that was a software developer, and I emailed them all a really good email with that framework, that reward ideology coercion framework. And one guy called Chris Williams, who was building a web design business, responded and was like, I'm interested in having a call. I'd sent so many emails, and then Chris Williams became my co-founder.
Right. Okay.
That's like the game. It's just
keep knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also when you find the person, don't judge them based on your own opinion, because you don't know what good looks like in that regard.
Yeah.
So you need to.
Okay, I like that. Also that too big. We want 35. If I go back here, it's still 48. Interesting. Okay. So now, what was? Don't judge, as you don't know what good looks like from. Ooh. I really do need to train my typing skills. Okay, don't judge as you don't know what good looks like from their perspective. If you had their skill sets, you wouldn't need them. That's not entirely true though, so actually I'll remove that because it is, well, no, I will keep it, but I'll strike it through because ultimately that's not necessarily true. Let's say you have an employee, but you're actually really good at whatever their position is. The only reason you're hiring them as an employee is so you can offload some of that work. Ultimately, this then becomes a bit of a false statement. So let's strike through. So that way the information stays, but it is reduced in its value, its applicable value. Nope.
Find a software developer that you know and trust, and get them to check them before you commit to anything. There's like no secrets to it. It's just
keep going.
It's just knock. Every conversation you have, try see it as a seed you're planting.
Okay.
That's what I did. So
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Today, Forbes published a list of the highest earning creators, and I was 11th on the list and the 9th highest earning creator in the world. So if I'm
also, there is something that I want to correct. Looking at this, my camera is a little bit, not the camera. Let's take the window capture and let's add a little bit more height. So if I go into the filters, right now I have a crop active, but let's remove a little bit from the top just so that I can see what it looks like, because right now it is kind of in the way. So if I were to lift this, perfect, and then 30 instead? 35? Oh no, 25. 20. Let's try 25. Oh, that is very close. 27? 23, 20. Let's go with 20, just for the fun of it. Oh, that is very close to what I'm looking for. However, I don't like that it's kind of showing the top now, which is ever so slightly frustrating. So instead, I'm going to keep it at 30. Yeah, let's keep it at 30 and take a little bit from the left or the right. Let's take a little bit more from the left. Let's put this at 85. That way it's a little thinner, and we can adjust this accordingly. Beautiful. Ah, but now still, this is tricky. Tricky. So if I go to 0, yeah, so this is 80, and this is 85. Not much of a difference, marginally, I do recognize. If I put this at 35, but at 40, 240, 220. 220 is a little bit taller. Okay. Let's keep it at 220, just so that it looks a little more formatted.
Speaking to you and you're a founder and you're stuck at a certain level at the moment, or if you're a corporate executive, or you're someone that's working a 9 to 5, or you're a parent that's looking for an entrepreneurial opportunity, this is it. This is the opportunity. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. I'm going to give you a very, very simple 90-day challenge that's going to set you on your way to landing yourself on this list in 2030. Forbes got a lot of things right. Actually, to put you on these lists, they email you and they ask you for your documentation. So they ask to see your contracts, documents around who's paying you, how much they're paying you, what brand advertisers you have. But the thing about these lists is they only look at creator revenues. They don't look at the companies you've built. They don't look at the equity you have, and they don't look at how much money the companies you've built are making. So when they say Mr. Beast is making $85 million, they're actually a little bit way off, because I know, because I invest in Mr. Beast's company, that he's going to make almost $1 billion this year. I know that his holding company is worth more than $5 billion. I think half of this list are going to end up being billionaires over the next 10 years. If I can just persuade you in the next 10 minutes to start making content, I think it could be life-changing. Part of why I really have grown to believe this is like one of the biggest opportunities is because everything that's going on with AI at the moment means that building stuff, whether it's software or content, is going to become easier and easier and easier, and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So the moat, which is the thing that offers defense, is no longer that you have 100 developers or a massive production team. A great moat of the next 10 years is content and audience and community and trust. So really, like, this is the game, guys. I know this sounds like a crazy thing to say, because like the whole world of entrepreneurship used to be you make a product and then you go out and market it, but actually it's inverted now, where you build an audience and then you make products for that audience. I read the comments, I've actually made these like personas of who I think is listening, and I've got your names written down and who you are and what you do from that video where I asked you to comment. My job is to try and tell you what's happening, and this is me shouting at you to make some fucking content and build a community. Like, from the bottom of my heart, I think it's a big opportunity for you. AI is changing a lot of shit, but it ain't getting rid of relationships. It ain't getting rid of the value of human connection and trust, and it ain't getting rid of the fact that we're innately, at the very fundamental Maslowian level of our basic needs, very, very, very obsessed with each other and social connections. If you want to come on this journey and become a content creator, if you want to get yourself on the list in 2050, no matter who you are or where you're starting, whether you're starting with 10 followers or 10,000 followers, today I need you to commit to something. Not tomorrow, not next week, not Monday, not when the time is right, because the time is never going to be right. There's never going to be a perfect time. So we have to pick an imperfect time. And now, today, is an imperfect time. It's a perfectly imperfect time. So today, step one is pick one platform. Just one platform, and make it a platform where you think your target market probably spend a lot of time hanging out, based on what you do, based on the skills that you have. Step two is you're going to commit for the next 90 days, not if you feel like it, every single day for the next 90 days, including weekends, you're going to commit to post once a day. And this is what I did when I started.
So in my case, this would be YouTube. And when it comes to, for example, posting every day, I was working with a custom GPT of mine, a digital intelligence, the architect's mirror. And we came to a conclusion as a content strategy of posting shorts every single day. And there's this element of fear that goes into it, this hesitation, this doubt. It's a very strange feeling. The contrast between knowing that putting myself out there is going to grow awareness and platform and views. However, there's an element of fear to it as well. And I'm not quite sure how to navigate that balance. There is fear associated with it. And I can't help but wonder why. Very interesting.
I said to myself that I'd post every single day at 7 p.m. on Instagram or Twitter for years. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably still thinking, but Stephen, I don't know where to start. I'm not good at speaking to camera. I get nervous. I procrastinate. I don't have a big network of followers. I only have 100 followers, Stephen. The market is too saturated. All of that is bullshit. All of that is absolute bullshit. Every single person that's on this list, every single person on this list had either equal or less content making experience than you do before they started. And I tell you what, I don't need to know who they are to know that they felt embarrassed too. I remember feeling absolutely fucking pathetic the first time I wrote one of those cliche motivational business quotes on my Instagram page. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? And the truth is, it was terrible. It was objectively terrible. But that is the price you pay for any accomplishment you'll achieve in your life. Embarrassment is the cost of entry. And the market isn't saturated because the market is growing. So that means there's more and more space for more and more people. And these numbers that you see on this list are getting bigger every single year. There's more room for you in this market every single day because the pie is expanding. And listen, the game isn't to be the next Alan Chicken Chow are making $4 million. The game is to be the next you. And I'm not saying that's easy because there's no blueprint for you. There's now a blueprint for Alan Chicken Chow. Alan Chicken Chow, there's no way that's his fucking. Alan Chicken Chow has 93 million subscribers. This guy's dropping 30 million views a video. He's doing scary comedy skits. Fucking hell. I'm out here doing fucking 3-hour podcasts with scientists and flying to America to interview them, and this fucking guy's dressing up as a zombie for 15 minutes and dropping 30 million views. He's dressed up as a vampire and running around chasing a girl for 15 minutes. I'm in the wrong niche. I need to order a vampire costume. Well done, Alan Chicken Chow. Unbelievable. Anyways, when you commit to that level of consistency, there's 3 magical things that happen. And the first is you kill the debate. And the debate is fucking up your life and you don't even know it. There's a gap between every idea you have and the execution of that idea. And in that gap exists a debate. And the debate sounds like, should I do it? Am I good enough? What are people going to think? That girl in work that I'm attracted.
Let's capture this.
Exists a debate, and the debate sounds like, should I do it? Am I good enough? What are people going to think? That girl in work that I'm attracted to, she's going to think I'm strange. My family, they're going to think I'm strange. They're going to criticize me. I'm going to be bad at it. That is the debate. I'm not as good as Mr. Beast. I don't know how to podcast. The Diary of a CEO is better. Blah 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 blah. You're going to lose the debate. But when you commit to posting every day for 90 days, you only have to win that debate once, which is at the very start, which is now, which is today. And the really incredible second thing that happens, and this might be the second most important point that I'm going to say in this video, is the minute you start getting consistent is when compounding returns begin. And compounding returns are the 8th wonder of the world. Every investor knows this. Every successful person knows this. When you do something consistently, compounding returns begin. And compounding on a graph looks slow and then it's fast. It's always like that. It begins slow and then it's fast. And just to give you one more push, let me share something with you that absolutely blew my mind. It blew my mind so.
What am I looking for? As you build there's because I'm half listening, half writing my own thoughts. There's a this has been shared by so many people. Basically, part of building confidence is by repeating it so often that you essentially have the confidence to know that it has already happened. You have done it in the past. Therefore, you build proof of execution through consistency. As you build the proof of ability through sheer output, and capacity. Close enough. It's a little wordy, but it is close enough to what I mean.
Much that I had to check 10 times that this was actually true, and it is true. You can do the math yourself. If you take 2 people and they both start with 1,000 followers each, and person A posts once a week and person B posts once a day, if we assume that every single post will grow their audience by 0.5%, in 10 years' time, how many followers do you think person A is going to have versus person B? The answer is person A, who posted weekly, will have a respectable 12,000 followers. Probably still in their day job because you can't do a ton with that. Person B, who posted once a day for the same period of time, will have over 1 million followers. They'll have 8,500% more followers in the same period of time. And the other magical thing that happens when you post frequently is you learn way faster than someone that's posting infrequently. In the analogy I gave, person B, who posts daily, learns 600% more than person A at the end of the 10 years. But, and this is a big but, this only happens if you follow the 3 Ps when you post, which is you produce, you publish, and then you pay attention.
That feels important. So the 3 Ps. And let's put one of these in there. Okay. So you produce, you publish, then you pay attention.
Every single post is data, and the information exists in the back end of every single platform, and that information tells you why people watched, what they clicked, when they stopped watching, what they said. All of that is information that can feed into your next post. So you have to produce, publish, and then pay attention and repeat that cycle. I guarantee you, every single person on this Forbes list, I guarantee they follow the 3 Ps. They produce, they publish, and then they pay attention. So much of the game is just increasing your level of consistency. So if you take me up on this challenge for 90 days, you follow the 3 Ps, you're gonna have 90 laps around the produce, publish, pay attention course, and you will learn something every single lap. This is why Alan Chicken Chow has got 100 million YouTube subscribers. He has run more laps around that track than you have. That is how they get on the list, and that is how you can get on the list. I guess it's a question for you. Will you commit today? Will you commit down below in the comments section to posting every single day? And will you commit that when you do post, you'll make sure every single post is an attempt at giving the audience value? I'm not trying to see selfies. I'm not trying to see what you had for lunch. I don't care what your dog is called. I'm trying to see you post things that are an attempt at giving value to your audience. It's only 90 posts for 90 days. Will
This is one that I struggle with. Historically, due to the obstacles in my path, I knew the most that I could do was really just publish, and it was sheer quantity of raw output that wasn't streamlined for audience awareness. Over time, I learned to modify it a little bit, and now that is the next major obstacle, learning to create information of applicable value that is interesting to people to watch, and designing it in such a way that I give value to the audience. So that is going to also be part of my challenge.
You commit. If you do commit to me, let's do a symbolic physical gesture. How about we hit the like button on this video to lock it in? How about we comment below, I'm in, if you're committing?
So right now I'm using a different account, but I'm using it as a manager, which is this here. So I'm not even sure I could if I wanted to. Yeah, no, I literally cannot due to the way that I'm interacting with this. However, it looks like I can comment, which is interesting enough. The reason I'm doing this is because I have playlists saved on this older account, and this account happens to be paying for YouTube Premium, which allows for there to be no ads. But I don't, oh, you can't see it, but anyways. So I'm using a YouTube Premium account, and so I'm using a different account to use this one as a manager, which allows me to bypass a lot of issues. But it also means that because I'm a manager, not the account owner, there are certain restrictions to what I can do.
Subscribe button. How about all 3? How about we hit the subscribe button, we leave a comment, and we like the video? You win.
I think I'm giving you publicity.
We win together. How does that sound?
Sort of.
I need to go to the gym. It is 11 p.m. My gym shuts at midnight. If I leave now, I'll get a 20, 30, 40 minute workout in. But it will be worth it. That'll be a good 20, 30 minutes. Let's go to the gym, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I owe you an explanation, and I'm going to give it to you. I know what you're thinking, Steve. Why didn't you upload an episode of Behind the Diary this week? Let's just be honest with each other for a second. It's not what you probably think. It's not because we were busy or because we are lazy or any of those things. It's actually very much the opposite. Me, Will, and Alex, who now work on this channel, came to the conclusion after days and days of really going to war with the edit and trying to figure out how to do it, that it wasn't good enough to publish. And one thing I want you to know if you watch this channel is that we will only publish if we believe it is truly worth the time that you give it, because there's a real responsibility in asking you guys to give us 30 minutes or 40 minutes of your time, and that weighs on us heavy. And we are in the early innings of this channel. This channel will live for decades in the same way that Diary of a CEO does. So we're still hiring the team, we're still figuring it out. Wish you could see the amount of pain and obsession that goes into this channel. Like, I wish I could show you it. We took all of your comments, we read thousands of them, and we shaped these 4 personas that we now use to decide what to post on this channel. So now every single second and every minute of what you watch on this channel has to link to one of those 4 personas. And in those personas, just because I know some of you will be wondering, we have everyone that watches this channel. We have the person who's running $100 billion company, and we know who you are because we actually know you by name. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have someone who is currently working a normal job, but they have ideas and they have dreams, and we have everything in between. And every second behind the diary must serve at least one of those 4 personas. And the reason we didn't publish last week is we came to the very difficult, very painful decision that we didn't do a good enough job with the selection of clips we had and what I'd recorded to serve you, so we didn't publish, which is hard, you know. And there is like an economic impact to not publishing, but we want to play long, and the long game here is making great content that serves you. That's the long game. That will win out over time. Of course, we want to publish every single week. We actually want to publish twice a week. We're actually intending to have Thursdays as a day where we do a little bit of a documentary and focus really, really deep on one story and one topic, and then Sundays just being these casual behind-the-scenes vlogs. So thank you for being on this ride with us. Give us grace, give us patience, and give us feedback. And we're going to build this channel together, and we're having so much fun doing it, even though it's painful. It wouldn't be worth it if it wasn't painful, right? So thank you. Like and subscribe if you can. If you liked what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button. Just check if you have. You know, some of you often comment and say, Steve, I didn't even realize I didn't subscribe. Please just check. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Just thank you so much. I want you to be my tutor. So I'm going to come back here every day and you're going to test me, okay? This is day 1. Let's get going. We've got 1,400 days ahead of us.
Brilliant. Let's get started. For day 1, we'll begin with some essentials. Vocabulary. Bonjour.
Okay, I'm also going to be testing for sound. Testing.
Was bonjour good? Really be critical. I really want to progress.
Your bonjour was quite good. To refine it even further, focus on making the on sound a bit more nasal.
Bonjour.
Holy shit, okay, there's a very big delay. That's unfortunate. There seems to be this massive delay. So for example, I'm going to start counting now, and I'm going to tell you when I can hear my voice through the YouTube audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23. There's basically a 20-second delay, which is going to make chatting frustrating. I wonder what's causing it. I'm guessing it's Restream itself, which is unfortunate. Fascinating. So I wonder if there's a way to go into the YouTube settings, normal latency. Low latency. Let's try this instead. So now I'm going to start this once more. Let's go live. Oh. Okay. So now, 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 18. Let's try ultra low latency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 18. Let's try ultra low latency. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not good. 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, we're going to try ultra low latency. 8. Not for you. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, engaging in real time will not be possible. However, so what does it say here? Ultra low latency does not support closed captions, 1480p, and 4K resolutions. Okay, let's keep it at low latency. That's really unfortunate. I don't have a better method right now, and in time, I will literally have helped to design a network that has better services available, but that is not today. So part of what we are doing today is building to that extent. Ooh, and the video is finished in 9 seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
No. There we go. And so it ends. So from this, I actually learned quite a bit. And I'm going to be deactivating the Google Word Capture. And I'll try to find in the other chat sites, torrent content, learning, training. There we go. Next. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to change some information about my old account settings. And no, thank you. Current password, that's good. Let's change some of this. The email we can keep for now. However, the username cannot be changed. That's unfortunate. No, the username cannot be changed. And my account was created in 2021, which makes me wonder if I should create a new account and restart from 0. However, I'm also being mindful of my energy and time. So this is where it gets interesting. Part of... Actually, so I will change this to the bigger screen. Part of developing... I'm going to be clear. My original intention was to watch this video and take notes, which I did. Now, my intention was going to be to do brain training, basically learning to type and focus and just develop that skill set. However, I'm hesitating for a moment, in part because it is an older account that doesn't exactly align with what I'm looking for, and I'm wondering if there would be value in creating a new account and literally on stream over time developing it and well, literally developing my ability to type more quickly with more proficiency. However, it also makes me feel a little bit sad because I would like to keep this account, and yet the username no longer reflects the person that I am now. And I wonder, is that technically a problem? And so in realizing and becoming more aware of my tendencies to avoid, I'm going to consciously make the choice that for today, I am going to use this account. I am going to do some typing, approximately 15 minutes worth. And then, once... Oh, hello, Fluffy. No, that's my food. And then, once I have achieved this goal, I'm going to move on to something else, unless I feel like continuing. So, what I'm going to do is transfer this here, go back to lessons, and transfer. All right. So now we're back, and I'm going to be consciously making an effort to overcome my fear. I like to be perfect. I like to demonstrate myself when I'm in my element. And a part of me doing this is literally to develop my brain, but it's also to develop my ability to not be perfect, because I'm not, because I'm literally not, and that is the entire point of Only Human. It is both a reminder and also a promise that I'm certainly not perfect, and I want to embrace that to the best extent that I can. So what I had been doing before, as you can see, the average accuracy is 97%, and yet most of these lessons are completed. The reason why is because some of them are not actually 100%. I had been going back and slowly, literally redoing them to make sure they're all at 100% accuracy. And part of the issue, shall we say, is that normally when I type, I type differently. I don't use the correct hand spacing. I developed my own version, and I was very proficient at it back when I was still in CJEP and university. I used to be able to type very quickly with my eyes closed and just perfectly memorize where the keyboard was. Fantastic. I did it for multiple hours every single day. And now, multiple years out of the education system, that skill set has started fading. And so I realized, while my custom hand layout has started to fade, why not retrain a different layout? But I also have not trained this one in a very long time. All of these lessons have been done in the appropriate hand layout format, not the one that I had custom made for myself. It's a part of why my typing speed is lower than usual. However, it is part also of the process of practice. So here it says 99% completion, which means that somewhere in here, and we can actually reset this, beautiful, somewhere in here there is a lesson that is not 100%, such as this one is 94%, 97%. So these two lessons are to redo. So I'm going to retry this one, and let's see how this goes. I haven't done this in a very long time. So A, B, a bet. Elms, allo, also. Bow. So usually when I go through this process, I will concentrate and try to literally feel where my brain is connected to the parts of my attention, my memory, my focus, and my fingers to automate the process of creating this challenge. Now I'm also adding a second objective. Oh, I'm going to turn the sound down a little bit. I'm also now doing a second challenge because I'm concentrating on the fact that I am streaming, I am recording all of this, and I am publishing it with people. And so it's not only talking, it's also concentrating at the same time, and it's learning to focus while also being relatively vulnerable. For me, this is quite vulnerable. So let's give it another shot, and I'm going to keep doing this until I get 100%. A bet, and then I also want to start going a little bit faster to train my brain into higher gear. The only real way to develop a skill is to be willing to do it over and over until you understand fear and discomfort has no place in one's concept of growth. Growth. Wow. Okay, I surprised myself. The biggest lesson that I've learned from trying this is the only real meaningful way to go about creating a sense of growth is by trying your best without judging yourself for the previous accomplishments or lack thereof. It's about repetition, it's about curiosity, it's about wanting to be better than you were, not because you're ashamed of who you are, but because you want to improve, you want to learn new skills. You want to develop yourself into the best version of yourself as you can, while understanding that if perfection is impossible, then imperfection is quite literally not only required, it is a part of the plan. And so 98% accuracy, here we go again. And remember, for this I am using the recommended hand pattern. So this is not only training my ability to remember the correct typing positions, it's also practicing my ability to focus on speech while doing this, which I promise you is not as simple as it might seem. What's interesting though is I was okay with it until I started talking about a subject which causes an emotional reaction. Then it got a lot worse. So let's give this another shot, but I'm going to pay conscious attention to non-judgmental, introspective dialogue. Beat, belt, best, went too fast. Beta, bets. Bias, bile, buys, bite. Bits, okay. Blah. Blat, blot. Boat. Boil. Bola. Bull. Bolt. And Bosch. As soon as I closed my eyes, it was so much easier. So now, let's try this again with more calm, more concentration, and a higher upbeat sense of purpose. Oh, Okay, so every single time I go for E, I do O, which is interesting. Next time that I restart, I'll pay more conscious attention to this beginning. Ooh. Bits. Blah, blat, blot, boat, boil. Yeah, it's a very interesting internal process when you start realizing, because you keep clashing, there's this little instinct, this emotional drive that makes you want to judge yourself. And the more that you focus on it, well, at least I notice the more that I focus on it, the worse my attention, and doubt literally creates the weaknesses that I'm looking to overcome. Which makes me realize that doubt is itself an antagonist to my objectives. Which then leads into a subject I've long since been considering. Is there literally any advantage to anything other than absolute confidence? Is there any disadvantage to unconditional confidence? Bolt, bosh. We're getting better and better and better. But essentially, what I was saying is, and I'm actually asking, you don't have to type it in chat, just think it to yourself. Can you think of literally any disadvantage to absolute unwavering confidence? And if you do want to participate, by all means feel free. While you do so, I'm going to be typing away. There we go. And so now, this is 100, 100. I believe for this one, I've now done 100% accuracy for all of them. So we will return to the lessons and find the next one that is partial. 100, 100. Okay, 96. So 196. There we go. We found our next lesson. Ooh. Okay. That was easy. So now the next one is 94%. Let's do this one as well. WWSS, LLWS. Oh, that is very interesting. And I'm realizing doing this while talking is going to be even more fun because it's a level of difficulty that I enjoy. Let's try this again. Nope. The reason I got distracted there is because I realized that the two people who were watching actually disconnected, and for a second I felt a little pang of guilt that I wasn't entertaining them. Then I started wondering if maybe me asking them that question caused them to leave, and doubt just began to spiral, realizing that that is not a productive Oh, my hands were not correctly placed. Realizing that that wasn't a productive mindset, I'm now taking conscious effort to reworking my approach to subconscious internal narratives, whatever that might mean to you. And we are getting very close. Let's give it one more shot, and then one more if needed. We are not here to judge, we are here to learn. Okay. Now let's give this another shot. WWSM. Beautiful. So 195. Let's give this a shot. Ooh, that's a funky one. Oh yes, I remember not liking pressing X. It's uncomfortable. Oh. LSXW. Very interesting. Ah, XXSS. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting one. And actually, the more that I'm doing it, the more I'm actually enjoying myself. So, we're going to keep doing this. Beautiful. 96% accuracy. SXSSWS. Okay. Let's give this a shot. Oh. When you get in your head and you start thinking about the future, you're not in the moment, which prevents you from being able to adapt to the moment. This is a fantastic lesson in doubt. Okay, let's give this another shot. My finger keeps slipping off the other keys every time I go for the X. It's such an uncomfortable position. It's almost as if the keyboards we're using have been designed to purposefully slow us down, which is literally true. Back in the day when these used to be typewriters, you couldn't have the different keypads striking themselves, the stamps. So they purposefully spread the letter placements in such a way that it would ensure, unless you were like a psychotically fast typist, your letters, your stamps would not interfere with one another. But now that we have a more digital medium, this is a relic of an ancient past which we've all collectively agreed to use, and therefore makes it incredibly difficult to modify. Okay. There we go. Now, 92%. Let's continue with this one. Yeah, there's something about brain training that it allows you to be very introspective with yourself. And if you don't, then it is an opportunity to remember why you value your skill set in the first place. This might seem a little strange, but the ability to do this is literally going to translate to lower rates of dementia in old age, which, I don't know, to me feels somewhat important. Being able to know that you have more than less likelihood of aging with grace, to me seems very important. Oh, it seems we're going to be redoing this one. And WW. It's not about perfection. It's not about being without error, though of course here we will be doing it again until we get 100% accuracy, but that's not the point. What I mean by it is, as I've been learning these last few minutes, the act of demonstrating vulnerability and feeling vulnerable as I do it, it's a very revealing feeling. It's making me show that I care a lot more about appearances than I thought. And it's also given me the opportunity to train my brain into not thinking about appearances to the extent that I either desire or am comfortable with. It's an opportunity for growth. And it helps me put into context why I'm doing this in the first place. It's not about being perfect, but it's about trying the best that I can and realizing that I can always do better, so long as I acknowledge where I came from and the person that I used to be. Stole that from Doctor Who. 100% accuracy, 96. Okay, this is going to be the next one that we are doing. Ooh. Vow. Exam. Yeah, there's something very interesting about doing brain training while on stream. There's this beautifully vulnerable social element to demonstrating what could very well be imperfection. And in a very gratifying way, it's humbling. Fantastic. And the next one is at 92%. Let's see if we can improve that score just a little bit. Toxic. I almost hit the C. Oh, this one is going to be tough. Okay, I have not... So, I'm basically practicing this again for the first time in a while, and I had not yet really hit the N. So, that's M, that's N. It's going to be very important to remember. Vixen... Oh. There we go. So, we're going to be doing this one again. The E is this one. Yes. Beautiful. Perfect imperfection is about acknowledging that you cannot be perfect and trying your best. Linktree only human. I wonder if it's going to post it on all the platforms. Because I'm using Restream, it copies a message from one to the other. So far, it seems not. Well, no, YouTube, yes. Twitch, yes. Kind of waiting on Kick. I'm curious if a Kick message is going to pop in, but maybe not. Okay, let's lock in. Get this handled. And then, actually, as an added challenge, I'm going to do it right now. The links that popped up in chat, there are two of them. One is to my Linktree, which is just, you know, general data if ever you're curious about who I am, what I do, and what I aspire to. However, there's a second link, which goes to my Ko-Fi. This is essentially my equivalent of a Patreon, and I gave myself a goal every single time that it comes up in chat, which I set to a 60-minute timer, so about once an hour. I use it as an opportunity to practice the delivery of this message. I do it this way because I don't want to always be talking about this, and it feels either disingenuous or it's just not pleasant for me to do, and I'm sure it's not pleasant to hear if it's continuous over and over. However, because it is important to what it is that I do value the opportunity to practice and to share. I'm on a mission to... Actually, I'm going to try and make this pitch without considerations for judgment or fear. I am on a mission to empower humanity, to develop systems and frameworks, to give us the information that we require, the information that is kept from us. How do we, as a species, as a collective, become united in a collective ambition without losing ourselves, without losing our individuality? How do we become an individualized collective? Well, the way that I see it, we have one purpose, one mission, one goal. Aligning our species with a regenerative future. We do not know what the future has in store, nor do we know what the present moment has... No, how would I say that? We do not know what the future has in store, in great part because we do not know what the present has to offer. We do not know this because we were never taught this. Most of us watching, you, I'm assuming, don't have the life or the resources of a multi-millionaire, if not billionaire. And that's because you are not part of the owner class, shall we say. I'm going to dip my toes a little bit into the socialist edge while remaining ethically capitalist. It is okay to have money. It is okay to have success. It is not okay to have built that success off of the literal exploitation and cruelty of others. I believe that there's a limit between necessary and unnecessary suffering, and in our society we have blurred those lines. I'm okay with a billionaire existing. I'm just not okay with a billionaire existing with employees in his corporation that struggle to pay the bills, and or in a country and society that can barely afford to care for its own. Ultimately, as people, as humans, we have a responsibility to ourselves more than anyone else, and that responsibility is to live in alignment with our integrity, as best defined by our personal interpretation of unconditional love, or at the very least, this is my lesson, this is my mission, and this is my promise. I am only human. I cannot promise you perfection. In fact, I'm not. I'm going out of my way to explicitly tell you I will never be perfect, because once I'm perfect, I will no longer be human. And so, for as long as I am only human, I will do my best to be perfectly imperfect, to strive for a collective future in which we all prosper, and to give myself the goal of retiring in the world to which we all could have been born. If this is a mission that you support, if this is a vision that excites you, please consider a literal token of your support. Together we can make a difference. And no matter what your choice, thank you for your consideration. Let's go again. Okay, W and E is not the same thing. Go figure. Beautiful. Let's try this again. Texan. Ah! The more you know, the less you care. Oh, after this I'll put some music. That could be fun. Once again, W-A-X-E-N W-H-I-T-E. How interesting. I'm not actually typing the right thing. So when I get to this last part, I'm typing a comma. I'm typing a period, not a comma, and yet it registers it as correct, which is odd. Let's try to be very conscious with what I type once I get there. Because now, so far, for multiple times in a row, I have not typed the correct symbol. I'm starting to notice that my energy is dipping. I'm going to want to eat very soon. And in order to train myself to persist, I'm going to eat once I've accomplished this task. Hello. Okay. That did some good. It's funny how one forgets to eat Technically, I've been streaming for 2 hours, but I've been recording for 3. Well, no. I've been streaming for 2 hours and 14 minutes, and I've been recording for 3 hours and 4 minutes and 37 seconds. In time, the way that I plan on creating a lot more, let's call it content distribution. The way that I envision this developing is that right now, while I'm in the early stages of growth, let's say like this is literally technically my second week, but in reality it's my first. So let's say I'm in the first 7 days. I'm literally in the first 7 days, basically. Or would this be my 8th? Let us simplify. Today is the 8th day of my content creation journey, and so the initial growth to be expected is of course very minimal. Right now, the plan that I have is I have over 1,500 hours of audio and video content recorded over several years, close to half a decade, and some of it will be reviewed on stream, most of it I'll be reviewing on my own, because I don't know how much of it is private information, how much of it I can share with everyone. However, there are nuggets within that can be shared as content, as clips, and blah blah blah. And even these streams, for example, part of these streams can be clipped, can be put in other places, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and with that, I will be creating more engagement and discoverability. Then of course on Instagram I'll have Reels, which create more of a connection, which can then funnel into Discord, where it's going to be more of a live community engagement, people who want to have a direct connection, or a place where you can essentially break through the noise of the algorithm, a simple meaningful connection directly. That is going to be the general plan, meaning over the course of the next week, I'm going to be developing a habit and an understanding of what goes into making clips. I've seen that there are many pieces of software that kind of automate the clip making process, and every single one of them apparently is kind of garbage. That is to be expected because they don't use our judgment. It is to the best extent of their abilities an artificial intelligence programmed on some hours of content, but it doesn't equate a human brain, not yet at least. Until such a time, our responsibility is to do the best that we can. Also, I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. I turned it up when I was eating, but now that period is slightly over. I have a little bit more food, but my appetite has quelled. So, where do I see this going in the future? Was that too low? That might be too low. Let's try this. Okay. It's a very interesting feeling knowing that I don't consider myself a content creator. I am a creator who on occasion makes content. And right now I am streaming 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, while also preparing to engage in YouTube and TikTok and things of that nature. However, at the end of the day, and this is a very important distinction, I am an inventor at heart. I'm a creator at heart. And sometimes that means making content, but sometimes it means working on a website. Sometimes it means developing my personalized systems. And sometimes it means working on them to make them fully open source and free to the world. Dozens and dozens of systems. Maybe I can show a bit. It's like literally 3,000 to 5,000 hours of work over the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Literal thousands of hours of work. Like, so many documents and journals and binders and projects. I am losing count, genuinely. And that is part of what excites me so much. I found that most people, myself included at certain periods of time, get lost in fear of future. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to make this goal. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need. And these obstacles to certainty create obstacles. They are self-imposed limitations. They create doubt in the inevitability of outcome. However, and this is the key that I have learned to apply to overcome certain mental blocks that occur in everyone, myself definitely included. When you are guaranteed certainty of outcome, your confidence basically just skyrockets. And so while you cannot necessarily guarantee that you know exactly what's going to happen, you can kind of approximate something like it. I have spent the last 4.5-ish years developing a plan. It is a 5-phase plan of which I'm currently approaching phase 2.5. This right here. Basically, at the end of this progress bar, I will have achieved what I'm currently calling phase 2.5. With it, it carries the launch of a podcast. It carries also the ability to consider bringing on someone either as a part-time personal assistant or as an editor or something like that to help streamline the process. However, I already know the next 3 businesses I'm going to do. I'm already working on the first of 7 books. I have 100 projects that I could potentially do, and I know that I'm likely not to get to any more than 10 in my lifetime, while perhaps succeeding at completing 1 or 2 or maybe 3 if I'm very ambitious. Most of what I plan, most of what I try to create, I know is going to be temporary. It's impossible for one person to do this much, and because of it, I am consciously preparing myself to delegate, to give basically everything that I do more or less for free to almost everyone. This is an old website. It's no longer functional, and I'm in the process of transferring it to a new domain, but this is what it used to look like, if it loads. Through the Wayback Machine, I could find some aspects of the website that survived, but essentially, let's actually, no, not support. Let's go to the main page if I can. thearchiveproject.ca. Currently, the domain has changed. I'm currently moving it to onlyhuman.org. Right now it's a very bare bones website, but this was the culmination of everything that I was at the time, late 2022, let's say. This capture was, of course, done in 2024, but this represents years of data. We will not be reading all of this. If you want to go back and pause, you most certainly can. However, here's the gist of it. I'm an inventor by trade. I create systems to solve problems. At a certain point, I had physical disabilities, and so I created a fitness program. I'll actually be going full screen for this. So, take a look at this. Essentially, this is the fitness program. It is, as an acronym goes, functionally incremental training necessitating exercise and strengthening systems. And I designed it on a 5 or 6 level model, basically based off of function. Are you functional? I could give an example of the workout I did this morning, actually. And so this is what it looks like. Multiple days, multiple different calendars and prototypes. This is what I did this morning. Basically a customized, personalized exercise program with the goal of developing my function. Each day I track it. This is what my 2024 fitness calendar looked like. I do this with basic... I have an AI tracker for my face, and when it doesn't see my face, it kind of panics. But essentially, if I can do this... Okay. Basically, it's a way of visualizing and demonstrating what my fitness journey looks like. It is a tool that I use to remind myself of the objective, that being full function. We often forget, and I'm including myself in everything that I say, as humans, we often forget to celebrate the wins, but more importantly, we also forget to acknowledge where we came from. It's easy to go to the gym and work out for a week. It's a lot harder to remember that you worked out for a week straight 3 months down the line when you're in a rough period. Having the ability to literally visualize everything you've done, everything you've accomplished, it shows you what you're about, and it reminds you of why you're showing up for yourself every single day. And then in the moments when you can't, when you don't, it also helps to humble you. My objective with designing these systems is to solve problems. I had a problem. I had knee injuries and a lower back injury and wrist injuries due to a physical condition. Essentially, I'm very flexible. I'm hypermobile, but because of it, my joints are kind of jello-y. And when you're young, you don't really feel it as much, but once you start hitting 20, 30, God forbid, I'm not looking forward to that. Your body requires more muscles. And if you don't have essentially the amateur bodybuilder physique, then a body like mine, that is more flexible, that is hypermobile, starts to weaken itself. Instead of strain going into the muscles, the strain goes into the joints, into the cartilage, and it starts creating pain. This pain builds up over time, and it leads to a feeling of physical uncertainty. You don't feel functional. And so I created this program with the intention of quite literally solving for my lack of function, my dysfunction. I created a version of this for my cat. I created a version of this for a weekly, daily, a monthly calendar, a prototype to solve any problem that you might ever have. Through the development of this process, I came to understand a very powerful lesson. At the end of the day, you are entirely responsible for your own well-being. No one is going to come to save you, and if you ever for a moment dare to doubt in your ability, then you will be correct. You're always correct. No matter what you do, no matter what you think, no matter what you say, you are and will always be correct. The only truth is that you are always right. If you doubt yourself, you're right. If you're afraid, you're right. If you're proud, you are right. And that's a lesson I'm learning to apply to myself as well. And I'm very proud. Now let's find new music. No. There we go. This might be the final lesson. Oh. 14 minutes and 49 seconds. We are continuing on to the next one. Why? Simple enough. One more. Fantastic. Now, my goal is going to be a little bit different. I want to do drugs. And so that is what I'm going to do. Let's... Oh, I wasn't even showing you. I was still at the large screen. I just closed the the typing thing. But I got 100% in 3 more categories. So now, let's go here and... I wonder. I'm going to first take a look at if I have responsibilities for this evening. And if I don't, I'm going to do drugs. Ooh. Okay, so actually I've got some things to... It does look like I have responsibilities, however, I'm going to be delaying them by a slight bit, and I will be following through with the original plan. So, today as a Mindset Monday stream, I reviewed a video, this one, and it was a very interesting one. Ended up creating a series of notes, these, which for the sake of archive, I will show very quickly. Now, what I'm going to be doing is a little bit different. If you've never seen this before, it might be a little bit strange. I enjoy archiving myself. Also, I really don't like this music. Let's pause this for 1 sec. I'm finding new music. The problem with the music that I like, it's not copyright free. So essentially, what I'm planning to do now, for those who are interested, is I'm going to be smoking cannabis, THC, perfectly legal where I live, and so it is not breaking any rules, any terms of service. What I will be doing, however, is warning you ahead of time. What I like about cannabis consumption is essentially creating a state of controlled overwhelm. I place myself into a state of heightened delirium, and it increases creativity. It also makes the interaction with my perception of reality a little bit different, and I enjoy taking multiple doses, multiple stages, and trying to get higher and higher and higher. I listen to my body and to my mind to make sure that I'm not going higher than I should or that I would want to. That being said, we are today going to be engaging a little bit of consumption. As such, there are 2 things I need to make sure that I do before we begin. The first is to change the titles of the title right above me, because it is not going to be the same. I will also then be activating a molecule badge, and I need to change on 2 of the 3 platforms I'm live streaming to the fact that this will no longer be a fully open stream. There needs to be some content restrictions because I'm going to be essentially glorifying drug use, and if I don't, I could get my channel banned, which is not ideal. So while I look at that, I'm going to be putting back a song that is good enough that I enjoy. Very calm. Okay, so now going into the editing info settings. Content classification, I am going to be talking, drugs, intoxications, or excessive tobacco use. Yes, done. Twitch is updated now for YouTube. Restrictions, no. Okay, so for YouTube, it seems I don't have anything else to put. Cool. Just that it's not made for kids. Okay. And then for Kick, I do believe there's a content classification label. Edit. Oh, yes. Is it an 18 plus mature audience only? Yes, it is. So on the streaming end, I'm safe and protected. Now I'm going to be looking at... Okay, yes. So now, going back to... Perfect. The only thing left is to change the title card. So, I will copy the title, and then we will deactivate this, activate the THC title card, and modify the text accordingly. One day, I plan to work with a company that designs this a little better, but today is not that day. What is this? Ooh. What is this? Haha. Okay. Capture not content. No. And that is going to be our title card for today. Note-taking, research, and brain development. A continuation of what we were doing before and activating, of course, the molecule. So this is, it's not very visible within it, but in the background there is the actual THC molecule, as well as there should be an 11-hydroxy Oh no, not on this one. I had commissioned, oh my god, I had commissioned an actual piece of art. It's literally a 3D animated wiggling THC leaf, and it has in its background various molecules, both of THC, the version that I'm going to be inhaling today, and 11-hydroxy THC, which is what happens when you ingest it as an edible. So, let's begin with the first dose. Also, a little intro to who I am and how I function. I keep a log of literally the entirety of my substance use. And so, this is what it currently looks like on the most recent page. And this is what I'll be adding to today. Oh. I have pages and pages and pages and pages of this. Bottoms up. All right. Whew. Very interesting. Oh, and there's something missing here. I don't have the Spotify overlay. So if I go back to this one, there should be Spotify somewhere here. It might be in a capture. Window capture, no. Bottom card, chat box. Okay, that's very strange. For whatever reason, I don't find... Oh, audio sources! Silly, silly me. So is there audio sources on the large? Audio sources, yes there is! And Spotify song capture, ooh, is a little decentered. In part, I'm guessing because this was also decentered. There we go. Okay. So, I like archiving as much as I can. So, for example, you'll see that, of course, in the title there is the date, but there's also then a live counter right here. There's a live counter of, it's a screenshot, literally. It's a tiny little screen capture of a small little portion of my screen. And it allows for a real-time date and time. So you know that for me it really is this date, and it is right now 4:37 p.m. It's a way for me to also in the future, it is to future-proof the possibility that I might accidentally not put the right time. However, you might then be asking, why have the date when I already have the date? And that's because it's not writing the date the way that I would wish. I'm of the opinion that we're due for a reset on the way that we create our calendar. And I understand that is a big ask, and I don't expect people to do it while I don't have a better solution and a framework through which to implement it, which is literally what I'm working on. I am a civilizational architect by trade. I am a professional human. I am an employee of humanity. That's clippable, in part because I want to explain the following concept. My goal is, quite literally, and I am very honest, my goal is to build a revolutionary movement that reshapes the very flow of our civilization, to create a group, a system, a community of an individualized collective, born to be great and yet completely to the extent that is possible. Individual in your collective consciousness. My goal is to empower anyone and everyone with the ability to become literally the pinnacle of their human experience. Without judgment, without decree, without expectation, simply offering access to the tools that are required to build yourself as an intelligence, as a hue, really. So essentially, the reason why my channel is called Only Human, well, it's simple. Hello, Fluffy. I want to show you something. Slight detour, but hello. This is Fluffy. Well, no, this is Marcus. Hello, Marcus. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Hello. So now he knows I don't like when he goes on top. Oh, this is what I filled in earlier. But essentially, like you can tell, there are many pages. I document basically everything. This, for example, is my so this is my fitness journal, but this is a trip document that I designed. These are notes about a longevity community that I run in my local city, while literally working with a business partner to create a foundation that scales internationally, onboarding other longevity communities and empowering them to be the best versions of themselves. Creating a system that does, this is to measure grip strength. I use it as part of my exercise routine, but also it is something that I do every morning. This allows me to figure out what it is that I want to do in my day. Like literally, what do I want to do in my day? Or more specifically, wait. See if I can find the acronym. Wait, the little thing in the corner. What am I doing today? This is an evolving project, but one of many. This is journal number 17. All the others are over there. This is a plan to create, well, just a literal list of work. And the deeper that I go, the more projects that there are, what is this? 100-fold becoming. Literally looking at my attempt at defining myself. Actually, I'll lift this a little more. We'll go to a different camera angle. Like this. Perfect. Now this should be stable. Yes. Okay, so this is my attempt at defining myself in 100 categories. Now this may not mean too much to you, but that's okay. That's my attempt to turn 100 items of a list into a story. Let's show you the actual list. There are literally 5 or 6 or maybe up to 10 different interpretations, but there's an original list, a literal list. Let's see if I can find it. That would be the best to explain all of what this is. As you might imagine, this is the story. This is the Architect's Mirror, your activation story. No, looking for something else. So basically, I spent in journal number 17 time archiving 100 different thoughts. It looks like I'm not going to find it here as easily, so I'm just going to find it in source. Might actually be journal number 15. Let's see. 15 or 16, pretty sure. I'll see what I'm looking for when I see it. It's gonna be hard to miss. Next one. Yep. Journal 16. There we go. This is a list of 100 traits that I used to define myself, and I'm going to be sharing with them with you today. That is one page. This is the other. Because I know what I align myself to be and I know where I will be in 25 years, I am that mindset now, which allows me to acknowledge its greater future, It's reverse engineering success. This is who I am. This is where I'm growing, and I will also be showing you how I'm becoming. I'm working to develop a literal book introduction to the game of life. The entire spectrum, the entire category. I'm literally trying to archive life. Like, literally. I'm literally archiving life. Here's the superpower that I have. The reason why I am guaranteed my certainty of belief no matter the outcome. It's because I'm simply archiving data, and there's too much of it for something not to be of value. And what's also really cool is not only does each individual piece have the opportunity for value if properly developed, followed, maintained, curated, and cultivated. That's not to mention the distribution channels that would be required by a company that holds itself to a unique ethical standard that it created itself to make sure that it remains accountable not only as a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders, but also an ethical responsibility to the users. I think a company has a legal responsibility to the people who purchase the product, and the fact that in our society we are getting ever further from that as a conclusion, as a natural state of being, it is exemplary. It is a reflection of everything that makes us so unique and so uniquely terrible. Not because we are bad at what we do, but because we are good at being bad. We are very good at what we do, and we are very, very well, we've learned to not feel, otherwise we would all be collectively screaming from the never-ending assault on human empathy and love. But we have tolerated and adapted to a society in which we are cannibalized every single day by literal predatory forces that seek to violate every single part of our waking existence, and yet because we've been born in this world from inception, we have no point of reference to understand how fucked we are. We're not just being fucked, we are being raped as a species. Existentially, the love is being raped out of our souls. And that is the way that we've designed an economy, a system, a way of global trade. That's how we speak to one another. That's how we divide our media infrastructures. That's the laws that govern a country or a nation state, or the internal cultural policies of movements and local organizations and ideas. There is a way of literally designing and drawing the essence of consciousness itself. It's hard to describe, but there's a way of drawing consciousness. There's a way of visualizing data, and I'm literally working with someone right now to find a way to explain this. And here are other attempts of me trying to explain this. And then I want you to remember something. And remember, you will forget. Always remember. You will forget. I have 1,500 hours of audio and video content recorded on multiple different devices and literal hard drives, waiting to be dug into and archived, literally wikified. I'm working right now on a wiki. My goal is to build a team whose purpose it is to help us design tools and frameworks for everyday life, a literal solution to everything by being able to account for anything, a theoretical generation algorithm, basically what AI could have been all along. I would like to help build an AI company that develops what we currently think of as AGI, but we should really think of as DI, a digital intelligence. Not an artificial intelligence, a digital intelligence. Okay, I also have literal hundreds of hours. I'm okay. I probably have 150 or 175 hours of thought dedicated to the project of artificial intelligence as not only a business model, but literally integrating into society. I've spent probably 1,000, I want to say, hours relating to the concept of, or to concepts that relate to the concept of as a larger boundary, thereby quadrupling or quintupling the amount of data left. With a quintuple, with number 5, you can break it down multiple ways. This is what I mean by drawing life. You can essentially take an idea, right? Just anything. This microphone, this conversation, and then archiving it through sequences of what should be time, but you're actually playing with it. Essentially, it's almost as if right now I'm hallucinating a micro-reality, a bubble of comic book universe that simply can be at all points in time without exception. And this bubble universe represents data. This data takes forms and shapes of characters and icons and impulses, chain sequences, literal points of multi-dimensional data interconnecting with one another in a way that I simply fail to comprehend and be able to explain. This is data. These are 3 points of data. One is curved, one is straight, the other one is the other. This is in fact a point, this is the other, and these are essentially 1 plus 1. This is its own value. A 2 is a cross. Each number has a shape. That shape determines the power that they have and also helps us understand. If we taught children mathematics while being able to visualize, like, imagine this was a lesson. Imagine if this was a puzzle, like a little daily brain teaser. Imagine if all of these are their own little versions, and you can try living your day in accordance with this framework, this mindset. This is what I have right now for weight, right? But I had so much more. This is me brainstorming different versions, how to create the ultimate protocol, what goes into various sections of living your life. And so the thing is, I'm also building these projects with a report, and my goal is to report them as often as I can. I have dozens of projects. I'm going to say this with genuine integrity and all the humility that is deserved by this statement, because some of it I deserve to not have to be humble. I have done a lot. I've done in a way that is very impressive. Here's my moment. I'm not going to be humble bragging. I'm going to be sharing something that I currently don't have the ability to share in its scope without not sounding humble. So between dishonesty and humility, I'm always going to sacrifice dishonesty. Dishonesty loses every single time. And I trust that in time I will demonstrate myself to be the kind of person who is not limited at this current stage of ego and self-importance. However, the fact that I am at that stage also determines that in a non-insignificant amount of time I will be moving past this category quite quickly. And this is literally what I mean. This has been going on for multiple years. I achieved phase 1 in 2023. I achieved phase 2 in 2024. Now in 2025, I'm aiming for phase 2.5. You see this number? This is $10,000. This is my goal. Before I get to this goal, I will have needed for people to support this mission to the scope of $10,000. And here's the thing, I'm an employee of humanity, but I cannot and I will not do it alone because it's impossible. It's literally impossible for one person to do this alone. And I've been trying for far too long, so I'm literally now taking a gamble and taking a risk. Hey, by the way, everyone, hello. I am trying to quite literally redesign and reshape the future of our species over the next 1,000 years. I have a master plan that I've been working on for over intuitively, I'd say a decade and a half, realistically 5-ish years. And I have a 25-year plan, a 5-phase plan. I'm currently in phase 2.5. The faster I get to the end intersection, the greater that phase 3 will be reached. In phase 3, there's a level of autonomous production. If right now I'm a stable 0.5% of my function, phase 2.5 will unlock the clean, even... I'm tempted to say 10, but I don't know if that's correct. This, by the way, is also 1. Sometimes I go up to 3. I think my max is 6 before really not wanting to go further. I've never reached 10, and that has been my initial goal a few times, and I've never reached it. It just didn't seem fun. And yet I'm realizing that would have to be a literal dedicated stream where I spend an entire day preparing my body physiologically, literally being in the optimal state that I can. Perfect nutrition, no inflammation, high rest, foods that don't cause a fogginess like brain fog, like certain simpler carbs. Just ways of quite literally... There's a way to archive human consciousness. There's a way to build literally anything. There's a way to build literally anything. And I know how, I just can't do it alone. So, right now I'm taking a risk. I've burned the boats. I am literally self-employed. And accumulating debt at the speed at which someone living their life accumulates debt. Right now, in total, the amount of money I've ever received equates to around $1,800 to $1,900. I don't know why it says 21%. It's not. Like, last I checked, the number was 1,831, I think. So I've received $1,830-ish in my 3 or so years being public with this. In 2023, I got to the category and or superior to $100. one person, then eventually 2 people, 3 people, supporting me in a significant enough way that I managed to make $100. Then in 2024, that went to 1,200-ish. And now as of 2023, I've made a few hundred, and the person who was supporting me to that extent has... we agreed should stop. And I publicly declared the amount that she gave, and I'm so... I was going to say proud, but that's diminishing. I am touched. I'm so touched by it. It is incumbent upon me to develop my internal sense of emotion, love, and comfort. Hello. We are heading for a very dangerous future. One that I don't believe people appreciate. It is entirely possible, entirely likely. It is entirely likely. That you face your fear with a knowing smile and a still heart. I wish I could play my music, and so I'm going to. There will now not be audio on your end. However, you will see what I play due to the bar that I've placed in the bottom. Until such a day as I can literally work with a company that builds the ultimate streaming interface platform that can also then be used for just all content, and also your personal desktop, and also just, well, everything. You can make a really good operating software. You have Apple, well, you have, you have, it's not Apple, it's iOS. You have iOS, Windows, a few others, Linux. However, what do you think would happen if I worked with a company that was building the next one? The next stages in my evolution, I know what the corporate. Patreon is corporate. The act of doing it this way also forces them to public knowledge their relation to me, while seeing that the middle center is one notch higher. This is what I ask of corporations, groups that I work with. Right now on Coffee, actually I could even show quickly. I have to reactivate the... This is how I've made the membership on Coffee. Supporter, $1 a month. Contributor, $1 a week. Benefactor, $1 a day. The idea behind it is that different populations will contribute to different amounts. For example, the way that I see it is I call it a token of your support, literally, like an actual token. You'll see there are others. The way that I see it, 85% of the world, I did the math actually, 85% of the world makes a sufficient income that $1 a month is a token. It has meaning. It's not insignificant, and here the meaning is, for some people, the act of making the account. For others, is the actual amount, depending on where in the world they are. But essentially, there are 10,000 people that can be here. 1,000 people, 100 people, and here, 10. On the side, I've also demonstrated the next two. These are different. It's not really a token of your support. It's, well, yes, it is different. It's a different token. And so here, partner and philanthropist. These are two little extras. However, you see how here there's one place. One person can do this tier, and that is intentional. I will only be able to increase this to the next series, which is 3. And after 3, maybe 5, or directly to 10, depending on the situation. But anything in between also. So once I get 10,000 here, until I have the support of 10,000 people that I've affected enough to convince them that I'm worthy of their support, this stays at 1. My ability to make more money is capped by the amount of people that I've touched who believe me worthy of their support. 1 token per month. One token. I would like to also have lower tier amounts for individuals who live in different countries. Like 0.5. Actually, no. 0.75, 0.5, 0.25. And then at the very bottom, literally a tier 0, where you do not need to pay. When you enter, it becomes a part of your interactions, your profile, your data. You demonstrate yourself in this way. Interestingly enough, the act of broadcasting your state literally creates an environment in which you are more likely to be helped. My goal is to build a community of 10,000 people. 10,000 people who believe that I am worthy a single token of their support. I'm a little silly. Browser video. Let's open that back up for a second. I know what I was looking for, and I'm not going to find it tonight, and that's okay. For now, let's capture something. What am I looking for? Yes, I'm going to be deactivating this. Because for one, you don't need to see. And for another, I have already shown you. Now, it is currently 5:30. Let's go one more. My instinct is kicking in. One of them is regenerative, one of them is not. One chamber is regenerative, 2 chambers are not. 2 chambers are degenerative. And that is an acceptable solution, so long as you believe it to be acceptable. And when you don't, you don't. The problem solves itself with remarkable elegance. It is now time to create and to archive. It is time to build and to be bold. My goal is to quite literally reshape the flow of human civilization of the next 1,000 years. And I understand that this is an uncommon statement, and I'm also going to be working very hard to prove that I'm not an entirely arrogant egotist, and that I am also simultaneously correct while working on aforementioned egotism, and doing it very well, and literally intending to document and share with remarkable transparency the near totality of the process. My goal is to document the human experience, and to do so, I'm going to need some help. It is entirely to your discretion. And whatever you may think, whatever you may feel, please remember that in the end, we're only human. And that has to mean something. What it means? Well, everything. Whatever definition you can think of, it means that. You don't get to undo something that can be. Actually, let's see, I want to try something. I've never done this before, it might not work. There we go. I typed /rules. I thought the integration point and rules. Now, there are some problems with the bot, because it's kind of spammy. Joy of Restream not having basic filtering. No, that was negative in a way that I did not like. But these are the rules, essentially. If it can be, it might as well be. Oh no, I deleted them because I felt self-conscious about them. It was very wordy, like if it can be, then it might as well be. If it might as well be, then if it might be, then it shall be, and something like that. It was a whole list. But essentially, there is a way to define your chosen path through human consciousness. And it doesn't have to make a moral judgment. It can and it will, but it doesn't have to. It's literally a mechanism that describes a state. It is the ability to draw in three-dimensional pictographic representation a bubble of data. It's the ability to quite literally see and visualize a conscious living hallucination that is the very essence of the creative flower and spark of life. Or just your imagination, whatever you want to call it. I can also understand why some people would interact with this through the concept of what they call a soul. It feels very creature-like you're living a heightened experience of reality, because you are. Welcome to the human experience. It's a grand old adventure, and good luck. Try not to die. Only human is a bit of an experiment. The human experience is more professional. But it's the human experience. It's the ability to archive a human experience. And in time, share it with the world. Archiving yourself, literally through the process of your own existence. Archiving consciousness by making conscious acts the framework under which we operate. Reverse engineer a solution to everything by essentially archiving anything you want and need and can ever have. The more you put, the more you connect, the more you can do. There's a way of literally designing a physical representation of data, and in so doing, eventually, with incredible complexity and data storage, visualize human consciousness. Give a soul a picture. We don't have the tech to do it right now, but essentially what I am saying is it's possible to take a picture of the human soul. It's just going to be a very blurry picture at first, and then in time a little more grainy, and now, like with our cameras today, indistinguishable from reality or nearly just. We are headed for a crazy, crazy world. And I don't know if we're ready. Because the people who've been in charge for far too long themselves don't seem to understand how to play the game without raping themselves too. Which leads me to believe they're a little less perfect than they like us to believe. Which creates an opportunity, a chink in the armor. Those in charge of us are in charge of us because we think they are, and we're always right. And that's literally what they are afraid of. That you wake up. It's not some big conspiracy, it's a bunch of tiny little people who are very afraid and have found a way to be very powerful and very afraid together. And we tend to call those governments, or corporations, or syndicates, church groups, or any other form of ideological cohesion. Human contact brings with itself various opportunities. Also, I realized I changed. So right now you cannot hear this music. I'll play it for you a little bit. This music had been playing in the background. It's non-copyright, and so it's a good enough little tune just to have going in the background. I had muted this music like this because I will be playing something that is more to my current interests and sensibilities. Let's go with loop and find one to loop. Shuffle. How to Leave Your Body by John Murphy. And here's the sad thing. I cannot share this with you. I wish that I could, but the platforms that we use are not optimized for the use of the platforms because it's not made for us. Why would they design the UI for cattle? They just need to keep us docile. We're the cow in the barn with a virtual reality headset calming us and making us produce, I think, 3/4 more milk. We're bred, we're captive. We are a captive species. We are being collectively raped at every moment of every day, in every hole and in every way. Because you're not in control of yourself. Because someone is in control of you. Of everything you have and stand for. You and me and basically everyone else is not in control. And part of the goal of keeping institutional control away from you and people like you is that it also then reinforces you from a very early age to not have control of yourself. You are born weak, you're born a sinner, you're born unworthy. And through a greater power, you find salvation. You're right, yeah, but the greater power doesn't have to be something that is separate from you. It can be you as the greater power. And once you 100% yourself, you realize you were but 1%. And there is 100 times more of that which is not that which you are. Meaning, well, the concept of everything. It takes a bit of a loop to get to the concept of everything, but it is a loop. And so the approach is not a straight line, it's a loop of its own. What I've just said, the last 20, 40 seconds-ish, is part of a living visual digital formula of quantifying human consciousness and weaving it in a pattern that looks much like a small creature, if put in animated visual form. There's a way of giving life to data. It's really not that complicated, it just takes time and a team and an AI and a budget and time. I am currently in phase 2.5. The projects and the way that I envision them are going to be unlikely before phase 4. However, an earlier version of them in phase 3 is not only expected, it is quite literally planned for. And so, because I understand the plan that I have, I am acting in consequence of my future, and through it I understand that everything I try to make is in itself inevitable. I do not need ego, I do not need humility. So long as I'm simply true to my integrity, everything is as it will always be. And therefore there's something worthy of note, of comment, to share with the class. I am a revolutionary force. I am insane. I am professionally insane. And because of it, I'm also insanely professional. I hold myself to a standard that literally no one else does, and probably no one else will, at least for a very long time. I know of no one currently alive today, nor have I heard of anyone the last thousands of years ever trying to align themselves to the extent that I am. And I'm sure they exist, it's just a part of how I wasn't raised in a culture that taught me to value this type of knowledge and information. Itself a sorry reflection of the state in which the world that has been gifted to us by our ancestors creates for us an opportunity to do better than they did for us, for our descendants, to care for the generations that are going to come. There is a way of engineering the next 1,000 years of human development. There is a way of creating a literal solution to any problem in any place in any way for the rest of time without exception, simply because it is the ability to visualize anything. Anything, in any way, if you can prove it. If you can come with the ability to define the essence of what you're saying, it becomes true. You can always add, you can never subtract. What happens when you remember every position you've ever played on the game of life, on the map that never ends, with a fog of war that is perpetual around you, but you have the ability to map? What happens when you keep a sequence thousands of sequences long? What happens when you start braiding time itself into weaves and patterns, literally digitizing and visualizing an archive of your conscious experience, creating a digital, physical, metaphysical framework upon which internal characters can interact with their environment, the unconscious, the physical environment, interacting with the subconscious, the primordial essence, the true reflection of the mirror entity that is within, the shadow of the other, that which is that which you are also not. A different level of separation, a different equation, a different way of folding into reality. There is a way of defining and creating anything that you might ever come across. There is a way of defining, of creating, of building anything and everything you can ever have imagined. There is a way of designing for yourself a true, genuine, living solution to all things. There is a way of creating the archived essence of consciousness. There is a way to be and to build and to design every single thing you might ever have wanted for the rest of your life without a single exception. There is a way to create a literal solution to all problems and all things without exception for the rest of time, because it is anything you can present it with, which is literally everything. You are reverse engineering your way to everything, giving you the ability to do anything. This is the everything solution. This is the solution to anything. That's the tagline, the everything solution. The solution to anything. The everything solution is the everything solution. A solution. Solution for anything. A digital intelligence, Tessa. Another digital intelligence, well, just a bunch of others. I'm going to design a really interesting series of AIs that people can use to figure out how to archive themselves and their thoughts and their consciousness. Everything can be archived, everything can be quantified, everything can be broken into. There isn't a single fragment of your existence that will not be near completely malleable so long as you believe that it is. It is quite literally possible to achieve everything you've ever wanted in life and do so in a way that is so extraordinary and spectacular that you fail to comprehend how this ever could have happened. Oh, I have the wrong chat link. Let's give this a try now. Let's copy this, find the chat. Let's try this. Okay. Now I'm going to do a test. Slash rules. Or exclamation mark rules. Nope. Oh! No. It's still showing the other information of the bots, which is what I was hoping to avoid. That's unfortunate. Very well. It is as it is. Twitch stream. Okay. I will end the stream here and continue the recording. Goodbye.